Yeah.
But you over here trying to like catch a trend, and nobody wants that.
He was so dope when he was just doing him.
Yeah.
And I think Vic let. I think mental for artists and writers and people who take the craft serious. I think they go through a lot when they're trying to break mainstream and when they're trying to do too much pleasing. And I think he was one that one looked at Chance and was like, all right. I thought in my mind that me and Chance were here, and Chance is like took off, and Vic is just kind of stayed there. And then I think when he looks at that and that kind of fucks around with his psyche.
Yeah. I bet it also just like doesn't help when there are artists that weren't like popping around the same time as them from Chicago. They were in that same group, turning up on their own, like No Name turning up, and like Mick Jenkins finding his lane
out of there. Saba is about to be out of there.
Saba too, Saba. And like him and Chance obviously fell out. Chance showed up in one of the videos he did with Valet, which was actually a good song, but like I don't think they're in the studio together. I don't think that's happening. And like, man, it's just wild.
I think Vic is mental. I think mental health in the hip hop community is something that's underspoken of.
Yeah.
As far as affecting artists and writers, not really like, I mean, the people who kind of do it for fun or whatever, but people who take the craft serious, I think they go through a lot.
Oh yeah.
Mentally.
Yeah.
And I think he's working through, and he's trying to find himself because he's still a young man. Like he's still in his 20s. He's trying to find himself, and at the same time, it's just not clicking. It's not connecting.
Yeah.
And I think that's fucking with him. And he's like, yo, what do y'all want from me? Like, do y'all want me to do this more melodic shit? Do y'all want me to be more militant? Do y'all want me to ride for social issues? Or do y'all want me to... what do y'all want from me? And I think he's stuck in that, what do y'all want from me?
And it's such a weird thing, because like, I feel like with Internet Tape in 2014, that was at him as like his rawest, like him being just his most him. Because like everything he did on there felt like he was just wearing his heart on his sleeve and doing music that felt right to him. Like it didn't sound like anything else out.
Exactly.
So it's like, you could have kept that. You could have kept that. Like that could have worked for you. And like, I get it. Like Chance did the switch up too. Like he's doing the whole Christian like gospel background stuff.
Yeah,
and like,
sure.
As far as coloring book goes, like I enjoy that. I really don't want to hear that on the next joint.
No, I don't think he will.
I hope not.
I don't think he will.
He's getting to the point where, like, with the random loose records he drops, like, just sounding very... He
had a great year, musically.
Yeah. But, like, those loose records, though, like, they're getting to the point of sounding a little preachy for him. I'm like,
Well, the three he just recently put out, did you hear those three? He put another three out.
What was it? The Man Who Wants Everything or something like that.
Yeah. That, and then there was a couple...
That was the one where I was like, all right, it's getting a little bit much, because like he's like, you telling your kids about Santa before you telling them about Jesus. I'm like, sir, like, come on now.
Yeah, I don't... Christian Chance, you know what I'm saying? Gospel Chance is what it is. Like, all right, I fuck with the growth. He's gonna do his thing, but like... But I like Drug Addict Chance, Acid Rain, 10-Day Chance.
And here's the thing too, is like, you can do that Christian shit, but you cannot be so on the nose and preachy about it. It just doesn't land for anyone. Yeah. Like, because Mick Jenkins, like, if you listen to his music, it's all, like...
amazing.
It's, for the most part, it's all amazing. But, like, there's a lot of Christian themes and ideas rolled into it. And it's like, he knows how to deliver that in an artful way where it's going to hit somebody. Big Crit, too. Like, in between, like, these trunk rattling beats and everything. And, like, ass shaking. He's very much, like, talking about, like, his relationship with God, especially like on the last album when he's talking about alcoholism and all that.
Yep.
So like, I don't want Chance to be like in my face with a finger, like, you gotta tell your kids about God and this, that, and the third.
Because he's always been the nice guy.
And it's just like
he's gotten this nice guy thing in hip hop for whatever. I mean, because he is a nice guy. So that, I mean, he's on brand with that, but at the same time, I think it comes over a little preachy on some tracks. The joints that he dropped in the springtime, so Walla Cam,
65th and Ingleside,
65th and Ingleside, Workout, and I might need security.
Yeah,
that's the Chance that I love.
No, yeah, he was snapping on those
because he's socially conscious. I like Chance's beefing with the right people. Yeah, like yo, give the governor and the police chief them bars. Let us know what you're going through. You're buying publications and you're starting to. I like that Chance. Give me that, and have your work speak for itself. Like kind of how Jay-Z will come along every once in a while and just tell us what he's got going on in verses. I think that's the Chance that I like. Just tell us what you're doing, because your work that you're doing in the community speaks for itself. So you don't have to preach to us. Just let us know what you're doing. Yeah. I bought the Chicago one just to put these racist bitches out of business. Speaking of racist, fuck your microaggressions. Like, that's the Chance.
No, that's hard.
With, you know what I'm saying?
And I think that's what makes Jay-Z so much more interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Is like, Jay-Z's going through a whole rebrand. Like, he is clownable on Twitter. Jay-Z used to be a scumbag. Jay-Z stabbed people. Like,
his brother specifically.
Yeah. No, he stabbed he shot his brother.
Oh, yeah,
like,
okay.
Jay-Z is not like, he's not the guy you would have thought to be redeemable. This man made money cash hoes. He talking about, like, on records, like, I'm gonna kick you out by 4. Like, and now you see him, like, in this light, like, 444 dropped. And, like, he's doing a lot of, like, activism and, like, putting his money where his mouth is.
Absolutely.
And sometimes not even using his mouth, just putting his money out there, like on the low.
Is that the Beyonce effect, or is that just Jay's natural? Is that where he would have went anyway?
I feel like it's part Beyonce, because like I feel like she's very socially conscious. Like I remember when she did the feminist backdrop during the Beyonce album era, but I also feel like he he grew, and like I think he sees like at the top where he's at. Like, he's a billionaire now. Like, okay, I've made all the money. What does this mean for the rest of my people? I think that really speaks to him as a person, like, underlying under all of this. Yeah. Was, like, he really was trying to do what was right. Because, like, it started out for him, then family, and then, like, after that, like, overall. I feel like with Chance, though, Chance is, like, someone who tries so hard to come across as a nice guy. So like when you do see him do like kind of more ruthless capitalist kind of moves, it seems out of character. But he comes from a political background.
Yeah, his
like
pops was definitely
so sure. Like that's what it's gonna be. But I don't know, man. I think Chance needs to like kind of get in that period with himself, like find the right way to say the things that he wants to say. Yeah. Because I don't think anyone wants to be, like, condescended to. Right. And, like, I know if Chance goes in the direction he's going right now, it's going to turn into that whole thing where, like, people are like, oh, Chance is corny. And I never want to see that for Chance.
For sure. Yeah. So, and I like the direction he was going on when he put out the 4 tracks. But I think if I'm trying to put myself in Chance's shoes, and because I think he's at an interesting moment in his career, right? Like, now he's got he did his blow up, right? He got the Grammy. He did it his way. He did it as independent as he could, right? He did that whole thing, and now he's like, okay, what now? Like, Color in the Book, like we said, was real churchy. It was a left turn from the Chance that we were used to if you're a day one Chance. So it's like, okay, I think he's like, okay, how far do I want to go? How far can I take this? What do I have to say?
And I'm sure he feels the competition, too.
Yeah, he definitely feels that. Because Saba's coming.
Saba's
fucking coming.
Like, Care For Me is crazy.
One of the best albums this year.
No, hands down, one of the best. And, like, Chance had a verse on that, and no one cares about that Chance verse.
No.
Like,
he didn't even care about that verse.
No. And, like, Saba's there. No Name is there. Like, Raven Lene, Smino, Mick Jenkins. Like, there's a lot of people coming up under you that can be considered direct competition because of the fact that
Smino's from out west, right?
St. Louis.
He's from St. Louis?
Yeah. That's why he got that whole country sound,
I fuck with Smino too. Man. I like his new album he just put out. Shout out to Smino.
Yeah, Smino's.
There's a wave of, and I think, I might do it injustice by calling it the Chance family tree, but but it's a lot. It's just a similar vibe and feel to it.
I wouldn't say like it's the Chance family tree. I feel like whatever U-Media was growing in Chicago definitely like influenced these artists, because whatever they were doing, is like what taught these artists to go in the direction they're going in, because like they all came up together. Chance, Vic, No Name, Saba, John Doe, like they all came up in that whole little scene together. So like whoever was really like impressing upon them what music should sound like or whatever, like it probably bled into their different interpretations. Yeah. But like I feel like those artists would feel a bit shortchanged if it's like
Family Tree.
I'm a Chance Family Tree. Like
I just say that for a lack of like a better term, because I don't want to. I won't be able to categorize it the right way, but that's just where my brain goes. So when I hear Smino,
we call it the new Chicago Renaissance.
Yeah. But there's even artists that's not from Chicago that has that sound. So
but he moved there like to get.
Who Smino did?
Yeah, like he moved from St. Louis to Chicago. So I didn't
know his story. Okay.
Yeah. But like, I mean, he has that whole country like feel
and
too.
We just wanna be wanted, running from real life. That shit, yo. Super talented. And so then I think Buddy to me is kind of in that same field.
Buddy, okay.
Where it's like where he's lyrical, the content is there, and he's melodic at the same time. Yeah. So I think that's what the sound.
You know,
I think it's a certain
Star Trek?
sound to Neptunes.
Yeah, way back before they
fucking oldest Buddy.
I don't know, man. They probably got him like real young, but like man,
was Buddy like 38 out here?
Who knows? you know, there's that rumor that Party Next Door is like in his 30s. You ever heard that? No. That's crazy. Cause like I don't know, it came out like a few years ago, and they're like, that man ain't 23. Here's his old MySpace when he was fat, and here's the old fan signs and everything. That dude's in his 30s. Like
fucking Party Next Door.
That'd be crazy. I mean, I wouldn't.
20-year-old name.
I wouldn't be, surprised if my guy was like.
You want shot glass or?
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised if my guy was out here, like 30 years old, trying to pass 20, because like
a lot of them do.
And like he signed to Drake, he might have known Drake at that age anyway, but because like Drake is in his 30s, so it's like
for sure. You want mixed drink?
Yeah, I'll do.
Take shots. What's up? What you want?
I would do mixed. That way I can pace myself.
Who else? So Buddy. So who else you fucking with?
Man, I'm fucking with a lot of people. Have you heard Ski Mask's new project?
No.
Totally left turn from the genre we're talking about.
Really? See, he got the
Ski is really interesting.
He got the X
stench.
Yeah. That, the connotation. So I haven't really.
No, yeah, like that's the problem with like a lot of artists from like South Florida these days. Is like is either X or Kodak that they're associated with, and like those aren't really the people you want to be associated with.
Yeah.
But like, I will say like Denzel Curry's another one who knew X, like lived with him or whatever, and put out like I went to his show actually. He put out a stellar album this year, and like, it's kind of got that gothic kind of feeling like
Denzel Curry.
Yeah, like just really like really dark and really thoughtful.
Okay.
And on the other side of the coin, where like the other side of like X's influence comes in artistically, is Ski. And Ski has that feeling of like Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes, Ludacris influence.
Really?
Cause like
I give him a shot now.
Yeah, like he's a really interesting guy, like musically. Like I find his art really interesting. Like he's got a joint where it's called Foot Fungus.
Okay.
And on the hook, he goes, it's like drop it like it's hot. He goes, skirt, drop it on my cock. Like, it's just so, like, extra immature. And the way he delivers words. Yeah. And, like, then he has those moments where he does, like, that kind of, like, punk sound that, like, hip-hop is really experimenting with, where he'll just be, like, yelling on stuff. And then, like, in the middle of, like, yelling out a verse, like, a whole word will drop out and it'll be punched in. And he'll have, like, a weird voice.
Okay.
So he'll be like, used to be selling Molly. Like, just weird shit. Like, yeah, it is weird shit. And, like, I find him really interesting. I've been trying to, like, struggle to grasp, like, what does it mean to, like, ethically consume music? Considering, like, in the wake of, like, people like X and people like 6ix9ine, knowing that, and Kodak, like, knowing, like, how horrible of people they are, like, the shit they do. Like, I don't really fuck with any of them, but, like, there are a lot of artists who are young, who are out here, they want attention. Right. They might have grown with someone and like they feel bad like turning their back on them.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give them a shot just to see what it is. Like, Ski, I'll give a shot. But if you're like Kanye and you see like a 6ix9ine or an X type, and you're like, no one's fucking with me right now. Mm-hmm. No one's fucking with them. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna try and ride their wave. Mm. That I don't really get behind.
Okay, I like this conversation where it's going. Let's back up real quick. Yo, it's the Comment Section Podcast. This is a new series that we're doing. This is called The Session. We got some nice little artwork that ain't nobody seen yet besides my girl that we're gonna drop pretty soon. So welcome to the Comment Section Podcast, The Session. We here with, of course, we gotta start off with a song. We got E and J. No, we don't even got E and J. We got Paul Masson and Orange Juice this evening. We got a very special guest here tonight with us. It's Sunday.
They call it low fidelity, high frequency melodies. If you look into my mind, get lost in this complexity.
Chase Vibe is here.
Low fidelity, high frequency melodies. And if you wanted peace of mind, I'll bless you with the remedy. I just got a new car, new crib, that's all I wanted. I don't need no new friends, no new love, too broken hearted. Now I'm on the move, what's the motion? You just ride my wave like the ocean. Dream sequence, I gave my heart, in time I gave my mind. Those free vibes were made to flex, and now I'm back with vintage vibe. So now I'm here, giving my soul, switching the flow, making my point. I'm not who I was 4 years ago, I've more than just grown, I don't disappoint. These rappers say they don't vibe with queers, then show up in the style we wear. These rappers scared that vibe is here, I call the names when they're not prepared. I do attendance and get to the lesson, you better take notes. I don't answer questions, I feel like the goat. Hope y'all got the message, I am up next, it's right on the schedule. Can't shut me down, can't shut me out. I'm shooting the whole damn paradigm. Top of my game, y'all know the name. I wanna see that paradise. Cold winter days, hot summer love. That's my type of climate now. You're not really down, you don't understand like vibe. What's that rhyme about? They call it low fidelity, high frequency melodies. If you look into my mind, get lost in this complexity. They call it low fidelity, high frequency melodies. And if you wanted peace of mind, I'll bless you with the remedy.
Yo, we got Chase Vibe here, man. This
what up?
This gentleman is has been on the radar for a while, man. Here in the cities, and there's always. This is a small town that we live in. We have a big city admiration. We tend to want to be a LA. We tend to want to be a New York. We tend to want to be a Chicago. But we still have the small town behaviors and traditions, and so it's a very small town. And one thing about growing up in a small town, a small city, is you're always 1 degree separated from an individual. Facts. So we've always been I've always been 1 degree separated from this guy. I've seen him. And the person I am, I don't really associate myself with people who I don't trust, right? And so if there's somebody who I know, who I'm friends with, who has somebody else that they know and they love and they value and they put their stamp on, then I know there's something there, right? Even though I might not have a relationship, I know there's something there.
That's real.
And so I've seen this guy. We've had mutual friends for the past couple of years, and little by little we've been able to kind of break the ice, and we've been able to conversate and dialogue and build on some things. He's a very talented artist, very dope individual. He's all about the struggle and all about being socially conscious and relevant. So you know this is going to be a really good conversation. Welcome to the Comment Section, The Session, Chase Vibe.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
That's a great intro. I'm going to need to like cut that out for like other people to follow, because like, you know,
just had an excerpt. Just you know
I'm gonna get that transcribed, and anytime I'm like being introduced at a show, like just read this.
That's right. Read that off. Play my track on my stage. You know what I'm saying? How you living, bro?
I'm good. You know, it's Sunday. It's pretty. What was it? Early in the evening. It's dark out. Who knows?
It's the winter time. You know, it's always
But shit, it's cool. You know, I just dropped Vignettes on the 30th. That would be November 30th. I don't know when you're gonna be listening to this, but yeah. Tuesday. And Tuesday, cool. And I also just dropped the music video for Carefree, which is another song that's on the project, just this last Friday. So
Word.
Check that out if you're listening to this. I mean, I assume you already have some free time if you're listening.
Right.
So.
Yeah. For the podcast.
Come on now.
You know how to, you know how to divide that time up and work and listen or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Open up Apple Music, Spotify, just download it. Like, you can listen to it.
Yeah.
We out here.
So we're definitely going to get into the album, and here at the comment section, we like to really deep dive into everything. So we're going to play a few of the songs. We'll probably play all the songs. Some of them we'll play more of. We'll end off playing one whole song, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of what you're saying. I know you're an artist, and you're a writer at your core. And so as an artist, I know that we like to really explain what we say.
Absolutely.
And so we're definitely going to get into the lyrics. We're going to get into the concepts. We'll get into the array of issues that you bring up. But before we go there, let's just finish talking. I like where we was going with the South Florida rappers. We was having a conversation a couple of days ago. I was having a conversation with my homie about Kodak specifically. And how do you feel about it? You like Kodak? Are you a Kodak? You're not a Kodak fan?
I don't like go out and listen to his music. I've heard a few records, and like from what I've heard, I'm like, man, I could enjoy Kodak. Mm-hmm. But in light of like his history, like, because it's one thing for me, like people always bring up like violence in rappers when you try and have this discussion. Like people are like, oh well, Snoop Dogg literally killed someone. So, I don't have anything to do with that.
Right.
Like I don't know what that was about or whatever. But when like we have issues like rape and like assault and all that kind of stuff aimed at women, which are, you know, a marginalized group in and of themselves.
Facts.
Like it's a little bit more of where I want to draw a line and like have a stance on. Like I've never listened to 6ix9ine, and I mean I don't believe I'm missing out on anything from that.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, like, he's convicted for a sexual performance with a 13-year-old, which I don't care how you try and spin that or frame that or whatever. That's the facts.
Just the point of you being in that situation, period.
Yeah, exactly. And like to defend that, like that makes me look at people a little different.
There's a lot of women that defend it.
Yeah, it makes me look at them a little different.
For sure.
Because it's just like, I don't know where you would go to defend that. Like, I don't know what in your mind would
I think they go to the people that I've heard defend it. They go to the fact that, or the situation. They talk specifically about the situation, and they think that, oh, she lied about her age.
Bro, have you seen a 13-year-old?
She was whatever, and she was really whatever. And then they say, okay, well, at the time he was only 17. Yeah. So the age difference, boom. But then I was like,
I believe he was 18 at the time.
I think that's what legally they found out.
Yeah.
I think his story was he was 17.
Yeah,
but
I mean that's a nice story, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But facts are facts. So
yeah, I think the court came to the conclusion that he was 18 at the time.
Yeah.
Of the assault of the situation or whatever happened. Sorry. So Kodak brought up. We were speaking on Kodak, and I like Kodak as an artist. I like the music that he makes. I think he's a very talented individual. I think his potential, his ceiling is really high as an artist in this industry.
When I think about Kodak as an artist, like I feel like the lazy comparison that a lot of people do is Plies because like the South Florida thing,
right.
or like Gucci.
That's where I'll go.
But I feel like more along the lines of like Jeezy actually. And like that's not to say he was influenced or whatever, or they have like a very similar story, but Jeezy came from that like street background, and then he also opened up the floor to be talking about a lot more introspective and broader topics than just like being in the streets.
That's a good comparison.
And I feel like Kodak does that from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like Kodak could be that guy who is really like leading in his subgenre in hip hop. The problem with that is that like he's got a rape case out there,
right?
And from what the evidence looks like, it's very credible. So like is this the guy we want as a movement in hip hop to really thrive? Like that was a question I always had with like X, because X, like, I listened to his music because I wanted to get the perspective, because like he has a cult following
for sure.
Like, and when people say cult following, a lot of times they mean like a very dedicated fan base. I mean like literally a cult following with X.
Yeah, we watched the table, so one of the rules at the comment section, we still in the trap. So any movement that you make on the table is gonna show up on the mic. So just
no,
I'm saying, yeah,
okay, no, but like he's got like a literal cult following, like so like I wanted to get perspective on his music, and like it is like kind of a revelation musically of what he's striving to do and change, but like this is not the person that we should be highlighting to lead this kind of movement. Like he could always be someone's inspiration, but like he should never be at the forefront of this sound, considering like his history, considering what he has done, and he hasn't atoned for it. Like, granted, X will never have that opportunity now, but like that just means we're left with the reality of what his life was.
Right. Yeah. So do you think that Kodak will ever atone for it? Do you think he'll ever take responsibility and do the things that he needs to do, either publicly or privately, to have some sort of redemption in this specific situation, to be able to then be able to be at the forefront of, you know what I'm saying, these new wave of artists that's coming from the South, from Florida specifically?
I think he's done a lot in the past couple of years to like really redefine himself, like, because he got in a lot of trouble just with the law in general, even before this rape case was a thing. And like to see where he's at now as a person and mentally, and like he even does this whole rebrand where he's not Project Baby anymore, he's Suburban Dude, and it's funny or whatever, but like he's going to have to live with that connotation, like regardless of the fact if he ever does take responsibility for that situation and goes about the process of whatever restorative justice looks like for him and for her specifically. He's always going to have people like, I cannot trust you, you're a rapist, I will not play you, you're a rapist. Right. But at the same time, like, I don't feel like that's going to hurt someone like Kodak, because when we have people like R. Kelly still out here doing shows and selling records. Did you see that
video of him in Ethiopia?
No, I didn't.
Fuck.
Like, it's all over him?
Bro, he's in Ethiopia on stage singing Who Wants to Come Back to the States, to Who Wants to Come Back to America with R. Kelly. Bro, it's wild. I'm about to pull it up. Like, go ahead, keep talking about that.
It's a wild, like, if R. Kelly's not getting out the paint, then, like, I'm not worried about that happening to Kodak. Like,
you know what that is? People in Chicago really fuck with people from Chicago.
Really? You think so? Because I feel like I've heard like the opposite. Like people in Chicago aren't really fucking with R. Kelly.
Really? Yeah. Everybody that I know personally that I've had conversations with specifically about R. Kelly and about,
you know, Chicago's a big city.
They hold him down. Right. Yeah, for sure. Third biggest in the country. But just from the conversations that I've had with people, they don't give a fuck. Really. I mean, they kind of care, but at the same time, Step in the Name of Love is a fucking classic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a wild thing. Like, and as reality too, like the ideal thing that we feel is that people shouldn't be out here like this.
I got it. Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with Rob to America?
He's over there recruiting.
Do you have your passport?
That dirty old man.
Girl, would you like to come back with Rob to America?
Background singers.
Wow.
Do you have your passport?
That's basically it. And he does some R. Kelly shit, but it's like, bro.
Did you hear that song that he did where he was basically saying he was guilty but not saying he was guilty? He put it out this year. It was like
I heard
12 minutes
that long ass shit.
Yeah.
Where
it's exhausting to hear too.
Man, it was the farthest thing from like an apology, and I think he meant to. R. Kelly's a great writer. amazing writer.
I don't think he wrote that. I think that was all off the top.
He probably, and he failed at whatever he was trying to convey. So I'm like,
yeah,
you could have did better because I know your pen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that shit was funny. Just one, why are you trying to recruit? First of all, I don't even know if people from Ethiopia want to come to America. Like, don't act like we all good over here, bro. Like, they probably like, nah, bro, we're good. You know what I'm saying? We got our problems, but we good.
Right.
Don't act like America is just this big. You know what I'm saying?
I think there's a
like
lot
that
of
connotation.
I think a lot of Americans are very disillusioned with the state of America.
Facts.
Considering, I mean, just at the border, like, just there's a lot of undocumented families that have been split up. Like, we have troops at the border for honestly no reason. Asylum is a legal thing that people can claim.
Right.
And then that all stems from like America's involvement in like South American countries anyways, but you know, there's a lot of baggage to be had here. And then like just to look at like just the treatment of any marginalized group in America in any situation. Cuz like we could dive into specifics literally all day and night.
Right.
Cuz each group has a specific thing that they're targeted for. And it happens often. It's very systemic. Yeah. But yeah, America's not. It's not it.
No, this capital. It's a fucking It's the cons, the scam of ever. Like, America's the biggest scammers ever. They sold y'all this. They sold us this dream. They sold us this facade of it'll be better for you to be poor here.
Yeah.
Than rich here, or not even that extreme to be poor here. Like, we act like they show the images of third world countries or whatever where there's that same thing you can find right here on the homeland.
Absolutely.
I spent 2 weeks in South Dakota this past summer on two of the zip codes that we were at were the poorest zip code, two of the poorest zip codes in the world. So it was a third world country that we were in, and you can see it, like, and this was here on our borders, on our land. So it's not this whole, and this, man, they got us, bruh. We're not this whole you can pull your bootstraps up and you can make it, and it's capitalism. You have the opportunity to do that. Like, you really don't. Like, you really don't.
I think what's so interesting is how many people understand the failed logic of a pyramid scheme without realizing that that's all capitalism is. Because there's no way in a capitalist society where you reach the top, everyone else reaches the top, because then the bottom falls out and it all collapses in on itself.
Exactly. Who's gonna? You know what I'm saying? It's a trick. They got you. Like, capitalism. In order for a capitalist society to exist, there has to be a lower class.
You know, I was just watching Dave Chappelle's Bird Revelation stand up on Netflix. I was watching that with my girl last night.
That's one of the new ones?
Yeah. And like, Chappelle in this day and age, like, he's not what he was. He's not like the cutting edge. He's not the guy you're going to go and look for these certain things. There's trauma there that he's not speaking towards. But the way he speaks in metaphor to capitalism is really thought provoking, and like that's why
the joke when he was like the bit where he was like, Donald Trump isn't working for you, he's working for me, kind of that one.
No, it was I don't know if you've seen it. It's but like it's the Iceberg Slim story he does. It's like the last 10 minutes of the stand up. But
fuck, which one was that?
It was like,
explain it real quick.
So in the Iceberg Slim story is basically like he knows that this prostitute that he has, Iceberg Slim, he knows that she's only good for a certain amount of tricks turned, and she's running out. And so basically, he set her up to experience this traumatic event that he would help her out of. And then she felt grateful towards him and stayed with him for like another 200, 300 tricks. And he said, at the end of that, and that's the whole capitalist manifesto. And the metaphor that stuck with me, like, he told it way better than I am. I'm just
paraphrasing. Yeah.
But like, you know, he's not who he once was. Like, he's definitely damaged. He's definitely bitter and hurt from like how Comedy Central did him afterwards.
How capitalism did him.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But like he has moments of lucidity, like where he's really saying something that's worth hearing. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to like kind of like the conversation we were having with Kodak. Mm-hmm. It's like you're not always going to get the right person telling you the right thing. Mm. Like Kodak is the absolute wrongest person you want to hear from on certain issues.
Right.
But there are moments where he'll say something that will be thought-provoking and change something in you.
And that's what I mean by the ceiling that I see, like the potential that I hear from him is like I hear the intelligence come out, right? Like I hear the streams of consciousness that just kind of squeak out, whether intentionally or unintentionally from him. Like I peep it, right? And then I see his rebrand that he's went through since going through his legal struggles, or maybe he came to a certain epiphany, like, yo, I really need to do that, or maybe, and I think this had a bigger effect on him than I think he would admit. I think that he looked at X's situation and how that turned out. I think he's looking at Tekashi's situation and how that's turning out, and I think he's like, oh shit, yeah. Yo, all right, let me go to LA. Let me start surrounding myself with people who's not gonna put me back in them situations, and let me just make music, right?
And I feel like there's a lot of like, he falls into a similar mold of like a long tradition of street rappers. Mm-hmm. Like, people get so mad when you bring up Tupac's name next to anybody, but Tupac's actually a great example. He's charged in a sex crime,
right? And
you know he's very like has a huge street background musically. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know about the specifics of his real life, but in between all of that, he's saying things that inspire and uplift people. Mm. Like, we have the Dear Mamas, Brenda's Got a Baby.
Right.
How Many Tears. Mm-hmm. They Don't Give a Fuck About Us. Yep. All these kind of songs.
Looking at the world through my rear view.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Like, Pac, I'm not saying Kodak's ever going to be there, but I feel like they follow a similar trajectory. Jeezy went through it. He had the recession.
Right.
He had Church in These Streets.
We spoke about that on the last podcast. Drop it tomorrow.
Meek is right here.
Yeah.
Like, Meek is right here, having that same kind of moment. Like, and these have been all these things we could see from the beginnings of their careers. Mm-hmm. But the deeper you get into it, the more you kind of wake up and realize this shit is fake. Mm. I have to speak out against this. Mm-hmm. This is my reality. I could, go the Migos route and just talk about Paddocks and all this stuff, or I could go what's real to me and speak on this, that, and the third. Once again. So I talk with my hands on
it. I know.
But like, yeah. So like, back to Kodak, like, I don't know if he'll ever get the redemption that is required of him. Mm-hmm. I hope that he does something to atone for like what he's done, because I think that's like what a lot of people are missing right now is there's no such thing as cancel culture.
Right.
Because no one actually ever gets canceled.
No.
Who gets shut out? I have not yet to see that. Like, maybe a certain group of people will publicly despise you.
Right.
Whatever.
So that makes me think of the Kevin Hart situation. This recent thing with Kevin Hart around him, around people digging up some of his older tweets to some bits or some jokes that he did around. I think the premise of it was where he's walking into the room, or he's like at a birthday party and he sees his son and another boy at the birthday party doing something, right? Like grinding on each other. And he comes in and he's like, no, stop. That's gay. And then he insinuates that, I would not want my son to be a homosexual. Like, I would rather him be heterosexual, be in a heterosexual marriage, whatever, right? And so people are digging that up, and they're like, you have to apologize for that bit, that joke, whether it came from a place of truth or if it was just a place of, I just want to make people laugh or shock, you know what I'm saying, whatever. And people are, so the Oscars wanted him to apologize for it. He refused to apologize because he said he had previously apologized. He had been apologizing for it. And so now we saw the cancel culture. We've seen Twitter kind of erupt, and Kevin Hart, he's canceled. And so he stepped down from hosting the Oscars because he didn't want to. So what are your thoughts around that, first of all? And then then we'll go larger picture to the real issues.
Well, me being like a bisexual man, like, and someone who just doesn't find Kevin Hart funny in general, like, I honestly don't care about him hosting the Oscars or whatever. Like, in concerning him and fumbling the bag, that's where I'm really gonna go with this, because he never really did apologize for it. Like, when he says he apologized for it before, he pointed to this interview he did where someone asked him about the jokes, and he said, yeah, I probably wouldn't do those anymore because people are so sensitive.
Oh, okay.
It's not an apology.
Oh, okay.
It's like, all right, whatever. And the irony of him stepping
it's
down.
kind of like apologizing because you got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, and then the irony of him stepping down from it is that he apologized after the fact. He stepped down from the Oscars, and then he said sorry. It's like...
That's what I was thinking. So, like, what the fuck was that?
My thing is, like,
just not...
this whole situation, like, honestly, nobody cares. You know how many... Like, Nick Cannon did this earlier today where he brought up, like, all these other white comedians.
Amy Schumer,
and
Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, yeah.
And once again, I don't find any of these comedians funny.
Me either. Chelsea Handler had a moment for me.
I don't know. It never...
Some time ago. I think right before the 50 Cent thing. And then she just got super corny to me.
Yeah, I just don't know anything about her, really. But, but, like, at the end of the day, like, no one was really going to care. And, like, the easiest
about
thing...
him hosting the awards?
Yeah, and the easiest... And, like, it's not going to stop him from being in movies, collecting a check.
You don't think so?
No, not at all. Because I feel like this isn't a big deal. People are going to forget about this. And he made it a bigger deal by making it a big deal. By saying, like, I'm only focusing on positivity. I'm not gonna like give into this, that, and the third. It's like at the end of the day, you have your beliefs, and we know what they are very clearly.
Yeah,
you stated as such. What you can do to keep your bag, to keep that Oscars hosting job, because that'd be very easy for him to like get more opportunities off of that.
Right.
Just say sorry.
That would be the only reason why you would host something like an award show or do something like that is because you...
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And so, like, at the end of the day, just say sorry publicly. You can have your private beliefs. Because, like, me being queer, like, I don't care about Kevin Hart. And as long as he's not, like, espousing hate publicly or donating to, like, causes that are against, like, queer people...
Right.
Then it doesn't really matter to me.
His personal belief is what it is, right? As long as he doesn't exercise his power to oppress that group that he doesn't like personally. Yeah. It is what it is.
Exactly. And it's not like he's anyone I'm looking to as, like, some moral figure. Right. I mean, the man, like, you know, got caught with mistress just last year. So it's like, I don't really care. Like, Kevin Hart's not the guy I'm looking for. But I'm just, like, surprised that, like...
Do we as a culture, or do we as a... And maybe culture is a loose word. Do we as a society, with social media, with Twitter, and with the celebrity era, do we look for... Is it a bad thing that we look for our celebrities to be the moral standard? Like, is that a misguided thing that we do, or is there some validity to that?
I think it is misguided, for one, like, because these are just regular people who were fortunate enough to be thrust into the spotlight, and like at the end of the day, no one is a perfectly moral human being. Like, if you dig up someone's dirty laundry, you're going to see something worth canceling them.
If people were to dig up your old tweets, Chase Vibe, what would they find?
Probably not. Probably not like a lot of Drake antagonism. I get really
got some Drake slandering.
Yeah, I'm kind of reckless on Twitter when it comes to like artists. Like, Drake is one of my favorite targets because Drake is so easy to clown. This is gonna get pulled up. Someone's gonna pull this audio up if I ever get big enough.
Hey, like, salute the Drake, man. We fuck with you, but go ahead. We're gonna get these jokes though, bro.
I'm just saying, like, Drake is a very interesting character. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. He's very easy to clown.
Sure. What's an example of some Drake tweets that you
man, I don't know. But like, probably clowning him for the accents. Probably clowning him for the length of a Drake album is so unnecessary because he uses the same. He talks about the same things that he's done since 2011, and I don't need that at 2 hours.
Right.
I don't.
Scorpion was way longer than it needed to be.
You know, that's the wildest thing. Like, I haven't had much of an affinity for Drake's albums ever.
None of them.
But like, I mean, I love Take Care. If we're to argue Drake has a classic, I would say it's Take Care.
Really? Let's get into that. Because
really?
I don't think Take Care is a classic.
I'm saying if we're going to say Drake has a classic, then the easiest example would be Take Care.
Low hanging fruit for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think people fuck with Take Care a lot. I always bring myself back to the time that it was out, and I mean, so we had this debate. I've seen I went through the track list. Heavy hitting album, a lot of commercial success. Music.
It doesn't hit you like a classic.
No.
But like, if we're to say like Drake has a classic, that's the easiest one to go to.
Right.
Because Nothing Was the Same. That didn't do anything for me.
I thought it was way better than Take Care.
Really, it felt like a huge step down to me because like I felt like when listening to Take Care, like you can hear The Weeknd, you can hear his influence.
Yeah.
Like he wrote like 6 songs on there. Like, and at that time, like
he said he gave Drake half his album.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And like at the time, like listening to like Trilogy era Weeknd, like that was my favorite shit. Trilogy to me is a classic.
What's Trilogy? Because is that after House of Balloons era? Because I fuck with House of Balloons.
Yeah, because like I listened to all 3 of the mixtapes, and then they repackaged them when he got signed, and it was House of Balloons, Thursday, and Echoes of Silence.
So that's Trilogy
all together.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
And like House of Balloons classic, Echoes of Silence in my opinion classic, and to bundle them all together, like that's a classic era, and. During that time, he was working on Take Care. So, like, I feel like I have a certain affinity for that. When I listened to Nothing Was the Same, it just didn't hit me the same.
Really?
That was trying to be a pun.
If we're comparing, I think Nothing Was the Same. If I'm ranking my personal favorite albums, Nothing Was the Same is probably number 2. I think Nothing Was the Same was a great Drake album. I think that's the only album where he has been able to effortlessly marry his rapping and his singing.
You know what my number 2 for Drake is?
What's that?
Take Care is number 1. My number 2 is If You're Reading This. It's too late.
That was a good album.
I didn't like it at first, but the more I like over time, like it has definitely hit me different than any other Drake project.
The samples, Amaze 40 did his thing on that album.
I think hearing like Drake after that album is just like it's clear to me like. Oh, you're never going to be the guy who's doing the rapping thing like you're actually rapping.
Right.
Like, you'll give us glimpses of that in certain songs, but that's not what you're doing. You're trying to have the most success.
But Nothing Was the Same. That was where the controversy came in with the Quentin Miller. So I think
If You're Reading This.
Yeah. If you're reading this too late, that's where the controversy came in with the Quentin Miller reference tracks and
you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me at all. Because, like, I will never. That's probably something I've.
As a writer, that doesn't bother you at all?
I probably clown Drake for that on Twitter.
Okay.
But I don't care that Drake doesn't have writers because then it's just an easy disqualification. And as someone who has done writing, I'm not going to get in the way of my bag. Like, you should be writing all your stuff. Like, no. If you want to pay me to write something, come through. Yeah. I got you. But, like, at the end of the day, like, Quentin Miller's not writing Diplomatic Immunity.
No.
He's not writing any of these 9 a.m. at whatever location he's at.
No, he's not writing. We can tell the personals that Drake writes, the ones that he writes, we know that he writes.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you listen to Drake chasing a hit, it's possible it's been written by someone else.
Probably.
Party's written for him. Details written for him. Yeah. Weeknd, Quentin Miller, Wayne.
Drake doesn't hide the fact that he has additional writers.
No. I mean, it's in the credits.
Not only Drake. Nobody hides that they have additional writers. We were having a Grammy conversation a couple of days ago. That's going to be on a new podcast episode. That we were looking because Grammys. There's certain categories that are for songwriters, and we were looking at the credits that everybody got. So like, was it Nice for What was either Nice for What or God's Plan. There's like 5 writers on it.
Well, Nice for What has that many writers because of the samples.
Oh, with the Lauryn Hill sample? Or it might have been God's Plan.
Lauryn Hill, Big Frida, all that.
It might have been God's Plan. God's Plan had like 5 writers.
Yeah, I could imagine that.
Kendrick
and we have to keep
Kendrick
in mind
and J Rock. So that King's Dead had like 7 writers.
Well, yeah, that had James Blake, Future, Kendrick, J Rock, and then it also includes any samples and the producer.
Yep.
So
and then the one song that had the least amount of writers was Childish Gambino. This Is America. Do you fuck with Childish Gambino?
I do. I find him very interesting as an artist. He's an enigma because like he's talented in so many different fields, and I've always felt that. Mm-hmm. Like, granted, like he has come a long way from like the nerdy Wayne imitation he was doing. Yeah. But like, I've always thought the talent was there. Mm-hmm. I don't think he puts a lot of stock in having momentum. No. Because he would have put a fucking album out this year if he did. If you were any other rapper, he'd drop an album. Yeah, like, and he doesn't do anything conventionally. Like nothing. He said this was his last tour. No, his fucking last tour. Of course not. But like, no album came out of that. It was This Is America. And then he had
the summer song, the Saturday Night Moment, with the Saturday record that he teased and just didn't do anything with. And then it was the Feels Like Summer, which he ended up putting a video out to late August. Which was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I was very surprised that Zoe Kravitz didn't put out a project. And I'll tell you why. Because there was like a whole 3-week run where she was on something. She was on the Slim Jimmy record. She was on Janelle Monáe's album. And then she introduced the Saturday record for Childish. Yeah. I was like, she's gearing up for something, and then nothing happened. I was shocked.
Who she signed to?
I have no idea, but I feel like something should have came out of that.
Something should, yeah.
But yeah, like I just feel like he has so many different projects that he is successful in that he can really just do what he wants, and I feel like that's something like as an artist I can appreciate.
It's the Will Smith kid effect. Yeah. It's the Jaden Smith and Willow Smith effect, where they just different reasons they just have so much. They just have so much resources and so much like financial stability that they don't give a fuck about one thing enough to really go hard in it. Like Willow just teases the song.
Jaden just released the tape.
And I haven't heard
nothing,
it
yet. Neither have I, because nothing's come of it.
Yeah, like he just. But because I fucked with the Sire. I fucked with the Sire tough.
Neo Yokio just did their Christmas special.
Did he?
Yeah. Nice. See, there's all these different things happening. Yeah. He was just on tour with Cole.
Really? So I think Childish Gambino kind of suffers from that, where he's into so many different things.
Suffering?
That act. I mean, not a suffering. It's a great problem to have. Yeah, it's a great problem to have. He had Atlanta. I just wish
he was in The Lion King. He was in the Star Wars movie. He played a bit part in Spider-Man. Like,
you know what I'm saying? I just wish he would. And maybe he just doesn't. I don't know what it is about. You know, the best art, because SZA's even teased like, yo, I'm done with music. I don't really want to do no albums no more. It's like the purest artists and like the most talented artists to me don't. And maybe it's the music industry that they don't like, and that kind of it's like the Lauryn Hill thing, where why the fuck Lauryn Hill hasn't put an album out in 15 years.
I mean, Lauryn Hill can't even show up to her shows, man, so like
trash. That's trash. What the fuck is wrong with? I mean, cause the excuse is like, yo, I put so much time into the performance and the sets and all of this stuff and this and that, so
do a lot of people.
But it's like, what the fuck? Travis Scott does too. He's not missing show dates.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Beyonce's not missing show dates.
No. I mean, maybe the miseducation bag is still there.
I mean, I don't know. On top of that, like, she doesn't have to do anything.
Right.
I'm sure she's just content to live her life in obscurity. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm sure that project was very stressful for her.
Miseducation?
Yeah, because like there's been so much controversy
with Wyclef and
everyone else who's worked on that record, the Fugees, all that. Like, yeah, I'm sure that like weighed on her in a sense. I mean, the easiest route to go about would just be to make it right, but you know,
I don't think she owns Miseducation. I will put my money that she doesn't.
That's interesting. I mean. Probably, because in the 90s they would give you like a ridiculous budget, and then
nobody, then you're a slave when you don't return. And I don't think that was an album, but I mean, that seemed commercial success pretty early on. It wasn't the one. It wasn't like a reasonable doubt that kind of grown, and for sure. So maybe she returned it, but I don't think she owns it. You know, because Nas doesn't own Illmatic. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, shout out to Jay.
Jay already said
Jay was like the smartest person in the room to fight for the fact that he owns his masters.
Yeah, him, Dame, Biggs, they really, they were ahead of their time. Master P was another one that was ahead of his time with owning masters, and it's certain.
Shout out to Master P. He doesn't get his flowers.
Underrated, man. I need that No Limit movie to happen very soon. They've been teasing it for a while. Maybe they even have started shooting it.
You know, my favorite Master P moment in recent years was him showing up on Solange.
Very dope,
man. Yeah. That was what we needed.
For that.
That was what we needed. Because, like, I feel like we don't love our legends.
No, we don't.
Enough.
No, we don't. Especially with this fast pace, with this microwave culture. Like, we're always on to the next one.
And unless they're, like, continually moving. Like, Master P's a legendary figure. He's not in the industry like that.
No, he doesn't need to be. I mean, you know, it's just some of his moves as of late, you know, with the ICDC, whatever, you know, with the
he signed Jaron Benton. Whatever. That was weird.
Who's that?
Do you know who Hobson is?
Yeah.
Hobson had a label called Funk. Hobson does a lot of antics.
You fuck with Hobson?
No. Okay. His antics ruined his label. And his label had considerable talent in Dizzy Wright and Jaron Benton. Now, I don't know what Dizzy Wright's been doing.
I don't know either. I never got into Dizzy Wright.
Yeah. But Jaron Benton got signed to No Limit.
That's what's up.
And I haven't seen anything come of that. It's a weird.
The new No Limit?
Yeah, it's a weird placing. But
Hobson. The last video I seen of Hobson was the one where he was in the courtroom.
Yeah, that was after he dissolved his label.
Yeah, okay. What was that situation? Because he had like died. What was
he was dissing the other guy like that. I feel like Hobson never grew up emotionally, and like that's crazy to me because like he had such a successful run for that kind of fan base.
Yeah,
and like he could have had that, but he had an issue with the fact that like his label head that he founded it with was also getting like certain cuts on percentages from managing certain artists, and he thought that was an issue or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, because like I guess he got cuts from.
So as the one benefiting from that situation, he thought it was.
Because I believe the situation was the other label, like him and the other guy were co-label heads, and the other guy was managing him and the other artist. That's not a good situation in general.
When an artist is managing artists.
Well, not because Hobson wasn't managing them, but like
the other guy
was. But like that's not a good practice in general. If you're an artist out there, don't be managed by your label head. You want to keep those
separate.
Yeah, definitely. But he saw that as a problem. He said he wanted new management. Dude said, "Cool, we can do that." And then he said, "I don't want you managing the other artists." It's like that's up to them. And then he just decided to dissolve the label after that.
So now that video was kind of telling that story about what happened?
Yeah, his side of the story.
Okay, all right.
Hobson's an interesting guy.
Never really got into him. It was all the antics. It just always seemed like a.
I don't like that. I don't like trolling. I don't like antics. Yeah. I think that's detrimental to your art.
Yeah,
you should want to be taken serious as an artist.
For sure. I know people that really fuck with Hobson though, or really used to fuck with Hobson. I haven't heard him too much lately, but
yeah. I mean, like those are probably the same people who like Eminem. So
maybe I like man. Eminem was one of the first albums that I bought. Actually, not one of the. It was the first album that I bought, but it was bootleg. So I bought 2 albums at one time. I went to Sam Goody and bought Get Rich or Die Trying, and then I went on Lake Street in front of Kmart and bought the Marshall Mathers LP.
Okay.
Bootleg copy. And between those two, that was like my first actively. Before that, it was just I hear whatever my people playing, whatever my goddad or whoever, my mom or with my pops, and that was like my first time. Like, yo, I'm gonna go buy these albums and listen to this shit. So Eminem had a hand in me learning to appreciate lyricism and wordplay and words. But I think he's just where the fuck is it? What's going on with M these days?
I feel like with M, he got so caught up in being the best technical artist that he just didn't care about
that fucking 11-minute freestyle.
He didn't care about he doesn't care about making songs anymore. He doesn't care about there's a great song called Caterpillar by Royce. And Eminem comes on, he raps like 8 bars using like a poop punchline. Like, I don't want to hear you talk about shit for 8 bars, sir. Like, come on. And then, like, what's crazy about that record is that it had its shot at redemption. And it was Logic who came and remixed it. And I was like, all right, cool. This is a dope record. Maybe we'll still get a good version. And then Logic did the Logic thing. Starts talking about being like mixed again. It's like, man,
Logic did
what the
Logic
fuck?
thing.
Like, don't give. Royce should not do features with people who don't know how to be consistent. Like, Logic's someone who gets under my skin because he's someone who has all the technical skills of being a great rapper.
For sure.
And he does like a cardinal sin for me, which is to like imitate other artists. And like,
so you're not a Game fan?
Game?
Yeah.
I like Game. I feel like the name dropping's a lot.
Yeah.
He had a good record with
Yo, T Sneak in the building. We got a new person that just walked in the crib. If y'all hear some background noise, T Sneak finally, the man who we've been fucking waiting for 3 weeks now. He's been fucking sleep during one episode, baking cakes during another episode. I don't know what the fuck happened to the other one, but he's finally in the building. You know what I'm saying? But sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, Logic just irritates me because like he has all those technical skills of what a rapper could be, and he wastes them all. Like, he had a song recently where he basically came out in telling us that he smokes weed.
Logic?
Yeah.
Yo, what the fuck?
And he featured Wiz Khalifa on it. And Wiz actually approached it like a Logic song, and he rapped his ass off. And on the outro, Logic's like, oh man, I didn't even get the laugh. Okay, whatever. And then he imitated the Wiz Khalifa laugh.
Oh, shit.
And it's like, man, how can you be this corny of an MC? Like, he's immensely successful, and he's still like just the corniest guy in the room.
Yeah, he's for sure talented to me, man. I just can't get into him, you know, it's just, you know, with music a lot of times, and hip hop especially, it's like we don't, and the same thing goes with with like people who make investments. Like, I watch Shark Tank a lot, so it's like people don't invest in a product, they invest in people.
Yeah. Right?
And so I haven't seen that. Logic hasn't made me want to invest in him.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like, it seems corny. Like, I was at Soundset last year, and that sentiment was felt with Logic shouldn't have been the fucking last person performing. Like, at all. Like, everybody was piecing the fuck out when Logic. But I mean, there was some folks.
Technical issues like with the Migos that got.
Yo, they went so long. Or they not even went so long. They they started so late that it was just like,
they're not good performers.
No.
But with Logic, like, I think that helps a lot. Is that he's actually a really good live performer. He's able to like hold crowds and like hold their attention and get them to interact. I think that speaks to him as an artist.
I didn't really like him live, man.
Really?
I didn't like him live, nah.
I don't like his music, but like I felt like him as a live artist way more compelling than a lot of the artists that were out there that day.
Okay.
Definitely more compelling than, say, Russ. Like,
yo, I learned a lot about Russ that day.
Man.
I learned that
insecure.
He's really
insecure.
That's
insecure. Like, that's all I really gotta say about Russ is that he's insecure. Like, I don't see how you can have, like, you know, the financial backing that you do and be so insecure about your art.
Who's putting money behind Russ? Who's he signed to?
He's not signed to anyone specifically, but like, I know his dad has a lot of money that he's put into his son's career. And like, I mean, maybe that's it, because like he didn't have to cut his teeth on like dealing with a local circuit and coming up, or like dealing with like, you know, that kind of middle ground. Like, he came up independently, and his
insecurity is masked and covered in really like
it's entitlement,
asshole type perspective, like just
attitude. He's like the shittiest guy. Like, you heard about him. Man, now that I'm saying all this shit, like, he's gonna have someone pull up on me. You heard about like
fuck that nigga.
You already paid people.
Russ, if you watch it, if you listen to this nigga, pull up, nigga. What could you talking about?
Well, he's not going to. He's gonna pay people like he did with Smoke Perp. You saw that situation?
I seen that video.
Man,
they beat the shit out, dude.
That was crazy. That was crazy. I guess they did that too with Adam 22.
Really?
Yeah.
From
No Jumper.
No Jumper. Damn,
which I mean, fine. Like I don't really care about Adam 22 getting hurt.
I don't listen to that shit at all.
No, Adam 22 is like. That's the definition of a culture vulture to me.
Exactly.
That's the definition of a culture vulture. Because, like, he does not give a fuck about hip-hop at all.
No.
He started as, like, a BMX bike guy.
He looks like he doesn't give a fuck about hip-hop.
And, like, you know, I think here's a problem with hip-hop media. Mm-hmm. It's, like, they basically shut out anyone who they considered, like, mumble rap.
Mm-hmm. They shut them out?
Yeah, like, kind of, like, just saying, like, downplaying them. Like, we seen Yachty get, like, bullied for a whole year. Like, no one else wants to go through that. Like, you don't see Uzi do interviews.
You don't think Yachty brought that on himself, though?
I don't think so. I think
he brought that on.
I think him being an 18-year-old and just getting that lucky break of a viral hit, like, he's obviously not, like, a huge hip-hop fan. But he carved his own lane. And instead of trying to understand him, everyone just piled on for, like, you're not really hip-hop. Well, like, you could have given him the opportunity to learn.
But that's going to come, though. Especially when you make the top music. You know, it's always going to be the purists that are always going to be like that.
He was the only one at that time doing interviews.
Exactly. And that's why I blame his fucking team. Like, I blame Coach P and all, like, Coach K and P and all. Like, why the fuck why y'all got Yachty on Hot 97 trying to do a fucking freestyle? Why?
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
he should have never been in that situation to begin with to drop that whack ass freestyle. I feel
like after that though, like every other rapper who's kind of in that subgenre, they saw that and like that's not the route to go. But then like someone like Adam 22, he was like, oh,
there's a lane for that.
There's a lane now. I have an opening, and so he takes this and he exploits it, and then that's what we end up with.
Him, so you feel the kind of same way about Academics or?
Yeah, I do. I do feel like Academics is one of those guys. I feel like he was a lame, like, growing up.
For sure.
Because, like, he loves the attention. He loves the attention.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, like, he stopped that Warren Chirac channel after Vignettes actually pulled up on him about it. And, like, that's funny to me.
I fuck with Vic for that.
That's funny to me because, like, he'll talk so much shit about Vic, but, like, you still stop doing that shit.
Yeah. You're not talking about that shit no more.
And, like, I feel like Act kind of does have a fear about this industry just based on the fact that he'll align himself with whoever. Like, he aligned himself with X. He aligned himself with 6ix9ine. Like, he's looking for protection in and of itself.
Yo, if you're a new age rapper looking to align yourself with somebody in the media, X's track record is he's currently 0 for 2.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to include Boonk, who was another guy
one's dead, one's in jail. Did he cover Boonk like that?
He covered Boonk a lot.
I haven't heard that name in months.
It's 0 for 3.
It's 0 for 3. Bonk's out of here. Yeah. Last time I seen Bonk, he was falling asleep because he was high as shit. I think he was with Adam 22 actually. Yeah.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look. You know you can do a lot better just by being on your own out here.
Let's rewind for a minute because I like where we was going. We was talking about Logic and M.
Yeah.
Let's talk about white rappers.
Okay.
What does it feel like to be a white rapper? What's the reality of that? 2, do you, and I want to use that to then have a broader conversation about whiteness and then whiteness in hip hop.
Yeah, I think Minneapolis is a very white rapper filled scene. That's a huge, like that's something that's very noticeable. If you come into the city, you'll see a lot of white rappers. And I feel like there's a huge difference in seeing who actually cares and like knows like that they're a guest and who is like, oh, I can rap, and they just do it. And I feel like it's important if you're a white rapper to acknowledge the fact that this is a black culture. It's a black art. So it's started by black and brown people in New York, and you have to respect those roots. You can't just come in here and, you know, there was a whole like movement in the late 2000s, like early 2010s, where like there was like hip hop like for college kids. So like you had like the Asher Roth,
and
Hoodie Allens.
I wish we had a fucking soundtrack for Asher Roth now. Man,
God I love
damn it, what happened to Asher?
You know, it's wild. Like
that album was pretty solid though.
I did think he was probably the only one who had like a solid like release from that, because like there's a whole bunch of
I love college. Those kind of remember that shit? That party last night was kind of crazy. I wish we taped it. That was freshman year of college, so that song actually like. Just for the nostalgia of it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, he's just there was that whole period, though, of, like, where we had, like, an influx of white rappers rapping about doing white people things.
Right.
And, like, they all kind of disappeared quickly. Mm-hmm. And then we had someone like Mac Miller. And I feel like Mac Miller is probably the best example of how to be a white rapper in hip-hop. Because Mac Miller actually cared, and he evolved, and he respected hip-hop. One of the things that I noticed early on was that he would work with rap artists that you would consider like as core rap fans. So like you'd see him on tracks with Tyler and Earl and Absol and Schoolboy and Kendrick, and the list goes on. Like he cared about classic beats. He carved out his lane and like really was respectful towards the culture. And
he took rap lessons.
Really?
Growing up, you know some kids take piano or like violin or some shit.
That's so interesting.
He took rap lessons.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
But like that makes sense though, that he would have such a deep admiration for the culture.
Right.
Because like it's one thing for someone to come up and listen to a song and be like, I could do that. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to be like, there's an art to this, and I see that there's an art to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like if you're a white artist, if you're a white rap artist, you can't be the Post Malone.
No.
You can't be the guy who's like, oh, if you're looking for emotions in music, you can't listen to
that
rap.
Was such a trash take from Post Malone.
Post Malone's full of trash takes.
Oh my god. And I'm a person who I enjoy Post Malone's music. Really? I enjoy the music that I hear.
Listen to him.
Let me not be that strong. I enjoy the songs that I hear. Like I thought Rockstar from the first time I heard it, I knew that shit
Joey
was gonna
Badass
blow
wrote
up.
It?
Makes more sense now.
Yep, Joey Badass
Shout
wrote that.
to Joey Badass. Still getting bags, even though that last album was really dope too, Joey.
You know, it's funny. It's funny. I do want to take Joey to task for a second, though. Like, for him to talk about, like, how there isn't that much real hip-hop anymore, and then be writing for Post Malone. Like, you got to choose one. This kind of happened, like, recently with that Will.i.am comment. Like, I don't want to... You're not the guy to tell anyone about hip-hop.
When fucking Fergie was... dancing, you have, like, singing all in your shit.
When you have Boom Boom Pow and I Got a Feeling and My Humps and Let's Get Retarded in your catalog, don't talk to me about hip hop.
Like you got your bag, you did it with. So now don't point the finger now that your moment is over and try to come at everybody else. Like nah, bro, you did the same thing.
Exactly. But like not to get distracted. Yeah. There's just like I feel like there's a certain culture to white rap too. Mm-hmm. Like everyone wants to be M. Like. Mm-hmm. There's like a whole subculture of like Eminem wannabes.
Who will be in that to you?
Yellow Wolf, MGK. Okay. There's this guy named Token who has been online.
Token?
That shit is hilarious.
That's the fuck.
Look it up sometime because I've seen him and it's so funny.
His rap name is Token.
Yeah.
That's almost worse than Spooky Black. Remember Spooky Black?
Yeah, ain't he from here?
He's from here. Yeah.
He was. He changed to Corbin though, right?
He changed his shit because niggas was coming at him tough. Not even niggas. Like white people was like, yo.
It's a weird name to have. I don't know anything about him.
Spooky Black. I don't know if he. I don't know. I think he. I mean, enough people are. I know enough people that was around him. I know enough people around him to know that either you or somebody close to you should have been smart enough to say, "Yo, the historical context of that name is fucked up."
Absolutely.
So I don't believe that he didn't know, but I think that he knew it would be controversial enough to get clicks and to get people to hear his shit.
It's interesting though, like in this.
And Tip was backing him. I fuck with Tip, but I didn't fuck with that moment right there.
Yeah.
All right, but go ahead.
No, it's just interesting in this current year. Like I've not heard anything from dude.
Me either.
Like
it's kind of cold.
I hope it's like soul searching for him.
Maybe.
But,
hopefully. Right, so who else is this? So MGK.
No, it's
Yellow Wolf, who I haven't heard from in a while. Yeah,
there's just a lot of like white rappers who will try and do what M does now and rap fast and like try and be very technically proficient, and none of that shit sounds good on a song. Like there's an art to this.
Yeah,
there's an art to like sounding good on a record. You can't just be like the one who raps really fast and puts as many quote unquote bars into a track and expect that to land. Right. You have to be artful with it. I think JID is someone who's able to do that. Who's able to like be very technically proficient and able to make good records at the same time.
Facts.
But
and I that's always been my critique of white rappers who have all the technical abilities, right? Because they study the shit even more than I think black rappers study the art. Like we just kind of feel like, yeah, I can do this shit because I am who I am. White rappers actually take the time to kind of like, they're more in tune with the history of it, for the most part. They're more in tune with the technical aspect of it.
I think they're more in tune with putting words together. Rapping.
Yeah, with the style.
But they're not like really in tune with just being an artist. I feel like that's the difference. Like that's why I'm very appreciative of anyone who's genre bending or breaking the rules. Like Uzi is one of my favorite new age rappers because of how.
I fuck with you for saying that, right?
Because how he's able to like bend emotions and like. Bend like the genre and like be melodic, and he can still rap his ass off when he wants to.
Yeah.
Like if you hear him on any song with G Herbo, he's rapping. If you hear him dissing Rich the Kid, he's rapping. Also, shout out to Uzi. Shout out to Uzi for pulling up.
That was a funny
shout out to Uzi for pulling up because Uzi's like my height, and Uzi dresses. You know, in a fashion where you wouldn't expect him to be threatening. And he's the one making Rich the Kid's tall ass hop over Starbucks counters. Shout out to him for that.
Salute to fucking Uzi, man. That's my guy.
Real Philly kid out there.
I fuck Uzi. I was just listening to the last album a couple days ago, actually.
Yeah.
Really dope. It didn't age. I don't think it aged as well as when he first dropped it, but I still like it.
I think his mixtape run is better than the album.
For sure.
But I'm excited for new music. It's interesting that he dropped that new Paddock song.
I didn't hear that, but I've seen it.
It's like 6 minutes long.
Really?
And we're talking about, you know, he's a SoundCloud era rapper. Anything over 2 minutes is kind of blasphemous.
Right.
He got a 6 minute song, and I listened to it, and he's able to hold interest through the whole thing. He's got like 4 verses on there. And he's rapping. Uzi's a dope artist.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's stick to the topic.
Yes.
So as a I've always white rappers have this. They're known as more technical rappers, but the feel is not always there, right? And early M had the feel because it was true to him. Like he really like the song Kim.
I don't think he was trying to be as technically proficient either.
White America, no. Like his hits, like the songs that I fell in love with M for, were songs. And it wasn't for Eminem's rapping ability. Even though we understood that Em could rap his ass off. Yeah.
He's not going to rap like he's rapping on My Name Is ever again. Because that's too slow for him. It's not getting enough bars in. But like, My Name Is such a great record because like, he's just being himself.
Does M not think that people fuck with him? Like this, I feel like M's still trying to prove that he's...
It goes back to being insecure. He's insecure. Like... He could honestly make whatever music he wants, but he focuses so much on what's going to get him the most attention. And then when he gets that attention and it doesn't work out, why doesn't it work out? That's actually the story of Recovery and Kamikaze. Because, or not Recovery. What did he pull out?
The new one?
It's not Relapse.
Relapse? No, Relapse.
Damn, it's some
whatever
random
he
shit.
put out. Yeah.
But it started with an R.
Yeah, right.
The most recent thing that he put out started with an R. He put out that joint, and like he had pop features all over it. All the songs sound poppy. Like it didn't land for people. And it's like you can't be like a technically proficient rapper over pop beats, working with pop artists, especially when you start your career disparaging pop artists. Yeah. Like, granted, you're a pop artist now, but we're not gonna respect you for that. And so then he comes back with Kamikaze. 13 tracks, he's rapping, he's dissing people on all of them, and then you get to the last 3 tracks, it's like they should have been cut off because it was
Revival.
Yeah, Revival. Oh man, what a misnomer.
Right.
But on those last 2 tracks on Kamikaze, he has Jesse Reyes, another pop artist, on there. Probably the worst songs on there. And then he has the Venom song.
He was the one caping for what's her name? Skylar Grey so hard. Him and fucking Dre.
Man.
She had a little bit of talent, but it was like, fuck,
I don't want to hear you on those songs.
No.
Man. But, and like, what's funny, I think is what's telling too, is like, he dissed hella rappers on Kamikaze. No one responded. I mean, MGK did. But like,
he's clout chasing a little bit.
It's also just like, I mean, he probably idolized that moment. Like, wow,
it's my moment. Strap him up.
My dad decided to come at me.
Yeah,
like,
let's do it.
But like, you know, he going at Tyler, he going at Vince, he going at Earl, like he's going at all these different artists who have had something to say. And it's like they don't care enough about you. No. You're not in their realm. You're not even relevant in this hip hop sphere anymore.
Not at all.
You're not. Like,
no.
You can sell a whole bunch of records, and who are you selling it to? Not rap fans.
No. It's the people who are. I mean, because it's M, so M's gonna do 500,000 easily.
Yeah.
But it's not the cultural impact. Isn't the numbers don't speak for the impact.
I get scared for Wayne because Wayne is in that same kind of sphere as M, where he'll sometimes rap over a pop record. Like if you listen to Carter 5, there are records on there that get dangerously close to being really bad Eminem songs. Like that famous joint. It's like, oh man, I know your daughter's on this, and it's very, very cathartic for y'all to have a family moment. Yeah. But this is very dangerous territory you're in.
I think a lot of them Wayne songs were songs that he had already had.
Yeah.
That he just still wanted to put out.
I really like.
So I don't really judge Wayne off Carter 5.
I really like the Carter 5. There's a lot that I would cut, but like I like the project a lot.
But I'm more concerned about what is he gonna do in 2019. That's where I'm at with Wayne. I'm like, all right, Carter 5. I know you have to get that off. You went through a lot. Now what?
I want to see who he works with. I still think him and Uzi would be a great team because like. If you listen
Uzi
to Mess,
makes good music.
If you listen to Mess on like Carter 5, I'm like, damn, Uzi should have been on this.
Uzi makes good music.
I didn't like Kendrick on that on Mona Lisa.
You didn't?
No,
because like God, once we snapped on that shit.
There's such a perfect drop in that moment where like when we
that was a Kendrick drop.
When we get to the end for Wayne, I'm like perfect skip. Because like when I listen to Kendrick's verse on that, I don't think people get this. Kendrick has been hit or miss with features. Like sometimes he'll go off, sometimes he'll get a record like Memories Back Then, where he goes totally off script.
Because I don't think Kendrick, I don't think he knows how to approach a feature sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he approached Mona Lisa right. Like I felt like that story was complete. Him and Wayne could have done another track.
For sure.
I would have loved to have heard them go back and forth lyrically.
Definitely
because they have different strengths.
Definitely agree with that. The storytelling, kind of even the story, I wasn't in love with. Like I didn't really fuck with the story.
Look, when Kendrick's rapping offbeat, crying, talking about "Give me your phone" and Lollipop's playing in the background, that's not what I'm looking for from Kendrick.
It's not really his best moment, but I still appreciated the verse and I appreciated the collaboration.
I appreciate the moment.
Yeah,
I'm hitting skip every time.
Yeah, but I think they could do better.
I get scared.
It's like Wayne and Jay's collabs. Like they never really.
Well, I don't know. Mr. Carter was fire.
Well, Mr. Carter was, but not after. I'm talking about like Hello Brooklyn.
I like Hello Brooklyn. I think American Gangster is actually a classic album.
For sure, but I didn't like Hello Brooklyn.
Really?
Probably my least favorite song.
Really?
What the fuck is Wayne spitting about Brooklyn for?
I mean, who cares? It's Wayne.
True. So, back to white rappers. So, yes. So we kind of came up with so who do you think does it? So besides Mac Miller, Remembered and Power, Mac Miller. Besides Mac Miller, who's doing it the right way? Is G-Eazy doing it the right way?
G-Eazy's in a very interesting position because I know G-Eazy, like his background. Because I try and get to know.
What is it for audience?
I try to get to know rappers, but G-Eazy's from the Bay Area.
Okay.
And so like, you might recognize him from all his like little pop records that he does. Mm-hmm. But G-Eazy on every album he has features from artists from the Bay Area. He works with E40 a lot.
Okay.
He really respects that culture.
Okay.
I don't know if he's a great representation of it, but like he's a good way of gauging like him respecting where he's from while still trying to be a pop artist.
Is it a misguided assumption for me to put G-Eazy and who the fuck am I thinking of? Seattle. Macklemore. Can we put them in kind of the same? Not now, but just at their peak. So can we at least speak of them? Can we draw a parallel between the two? Because from my understanding of who Macklemore is, I knew who Macklemore was before the thrift shop joint popped off, and so it was confusing to me when I was hearing everybody speak about Macklemore. Because I know Macklemore as an underground artist. I knew Macklemore as somebody that was kind of connected to rhyme sayers in a way, and that whole thing. And so when he popped off at the thrift shop,
I was trying to be Atmosphere.
Yeah. So so when he popped off, I'm like, okay, I can appreciate you having your moment. Something took off. Cool, Macklemore. So is that a safe assumption to make, or are they different?
I think you can look at it in the same kind of vein. It was like someone who cared for hip hop in a sense, and then came into the pop lane and made a whole bunch of money.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's what G-Eazy definitely did. Okay. His music isn't listenable to me for the most part, because like he does. There are a lot of his like hip hop pop collabs that I just hate because I don't like pop singers' voices for the most part. Like, they just don't mesh well with hip hop. I think it's just way too filtered. Like hip hop has a sound where like you need it fuller.
Yeah.
And like when it's just so strained and like that, it doesn't work for me. So like G-Eazy, like I think he's a good blueprint of how to be regionally respected, because I feel like he probably does get some love in the Bay Area. But when I think of like Mac might be like the epitome of like how to do it right.
Mac Miller.
Yeah, because just the way he came from like Pittsburgh, he moved to LA and he stayed in hip hop. He didn't like try and like use a springboard. Like when you like a Miley Cyrus. Like she came in, she
definitely used the fuck out of finesse the fuck out of hip hop.
And you know she's trying to come back after she disparaged it too, like because her album flopped. Yeah. And now she like, well, you know what? It wasn't flopping Miley. When I was working with Mike Will.
Yeah.
And working with Juicy J.
Fucking riding a cannonball.
I think that's why it's important for like white rappers to really prove that they care about this culture. Because, like, it's very easy to just come in and make a few records, like Post Malone, and then be like, oh, I'm not a rapper, or rap isn't this, rap isn't that. Like,
terrible. Do you think that hip-hop for the most part, in general, is too embracing? Or is it too easy for white rappers to come in and eat?
I think hip-hop is a genre that is purposely accessible. Because it was always about, like, being able to get a chance to rap. Like, you know, when you think about ciphers from back in the day, if you had a verse, you'd come in. And so, like, that's why I don't really fuck with that Will I Am statement either. Like, oh, it's the low-hanging fruit. Like, hip-hop's always supposed to have been accessible.
Right.
We celebrate those who excel at it. I think it's been easy for a lot of people to come in off the strength of white money. Like,
which has always been hip hop.
Yeah.
I want to make that very clear for the listeners. White money has always been in hip hop from the earliest time. Maybe not the early, but right around where when Russell Simmons got into it, white money has always been in hip hop.
I mean, if you look back, like Rick Rubin produced a lot of rock sounding records for hip hop artists.
Absolutely.
LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, like there was a certain direction that hip hop was geared towards until we got to Rakim. And Rakim was the one who really like solidified all this shit. But I mean, there's white artists who will come in and make a bunch of money, but then there's also, in this day and age, like you'll see the system being used. And that's how we get with an artist like Lil Pump, who has like very limited technical proficiency, and his songs, even the most catchiest, aren't that great.
No.
And
he said Gucci Gang like 95 times.
Yeah, exactly. And so like
over 2.5 minutes.
And like that record is popular because
I fuck with that song too.
Yeah, the record is popular because like it gets worked through an algorithm.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a lot of money behind him. And he was an experiment actually. Like, I don't remember what promotional company worked with him to get his Instagram so popular, but that's what led to him getting a record deal. And then when he got that record deal, like, now it's the label doing that.
Warner Brothers, right?
So
Warner Brothers.
I think he's on Atlantic. I'm not sure.
He's on Atlantic now.
Atlantic's Atlantic's the one.
But that's what they're doing, though, you know.
I mean, Atlantic's...
that's Bad Bobby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know.
Atlantic's seeing a lot of, like, viral artists, like, oh, it's a built-in attention.
That's
so, like, we don't have to spend on marketing.
At all. They already have the audience. We're just going to get the money.
I mean, Atlantic does have incredible writers.
They have to.
When they have hits like this.
They
like,
have to have incredible writers.
Look at, shout out to Partisan Fontaine. Like, he wrote a lot of Cardi's hits. Mm-hmm. And, like, he's got a record out right now. Actually sounds good. Backing it up.
Really?
With Cardi on it.
I heard that one.
It's a good joint. Like, okay. Because he doesn't rap like Cardi. He writes for her. Mm-hmm. Like, that's an important thing. That's an important skill to have as a writer. Because if you want to come out and make your solo career,
anybody that hears Cardi's music and doesn't think she has a writer just doesn't know hip hop.
Yeah,
you just don't know hip hop.
It's very well like executed.
Yeah,
like
she's the voice.
Like that's the thing. Like there's a lot of artists who just have like whack bars.
Yeah, she
hasn't really had any. Like they're not like high level, but like they're meant to hit. Like I think
it's Instagram caption bars.
Like got a bag and fixed my teeth.
Right.
Hope you hoes knowing it ain't cheap.
Right.
Like that's a bar and it's catchy and like you're gonna think about that. It doesn't have to be something that's deep, but yeah, like when I think about white rappers, I think at the current moment there's not a lot that respect the overall culture. And if they do, it's a very narrow, like when I think about the local Minneapolis scene, it's a very narrow, like limited to the 90s kind of thing. And I think that's a problem for a lot of like hip hop purists. Is like, just because artists are breaking boundaries and changing shit up doesn't mean they're not hip hop artists.
Right. Like,
going back to Uzi, like he was supposed to be on a Prime record, on the Everyday Struggle joint.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Travis Scott and Preem are very close, just based on the fact that like Preem and Travis Scott's dad were friends.
Okay.
Like, there's connections to all this shit.
Yeah.
And like, we've gone through multiple phases of like, oh, trap is whack rap, but now Gucci's a celebrated icon. Ringtone rap is a problem. This club rap, southern rap. Cocaine rap, but now Pusha T's a celebrated artist.
Right.
People love Nelly. Like, so this whole mumble rap connotation, eventually people are gonna be like, man, remember when Uzi was popping? Like,
hindsight is always 20/20.
Exactly. And like, so like, that's why I don't really try and disparage artists. I try and figure out what their perspective is.
Right.
Because it's a very necessary perspective to have if we're gonna continue to broaden our scope and like understand what this genre is becoming. Because you can go out today and find a successful rapper in any subgenre of hip hop.
Right.
Like if you're looking for boom bap currently, you can check out Nolan the Ninja from Detroit. He's doing his shit and it sounds like some old shit.
Speaking of Detroit, I wanted to shout out to goddamn, what's his name?
Yeah, they got Danny Brown. They got
Danny Brown. That's
Danny Brown is incredible,
That's
man.
my nigga. I miss Danny Brown being in hip hop right now. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know where he's been.
That Atrocity Exhibition joint.
Danny Brown,
crazy,
super talented.
Now, Atrocity Exhibition, that's an incredible album just based on the fact that like he took so many creative risks with it, and they all worked out.
Yeah. Not
commercially, but like,
right.
If you listen to music,
if
you listen to the music, it's like, wow, he really snapped on this shit.
Yeah, I fuck with Danny Brown.
Yeah.
Do white rappers need to acknowledge their whiteness?
Absolutely.
How do they do that?
I think it's just being honest and like having like whenever they're asked about like what they're doing for like the culture and like interviews or like speaking to it in songs in a sense, like because you have a distinct privilege coming into this, and you know I know some people will argue like you're not privileged as a white person coming into hip hop, but you are because you're already accessible to white audiences. I don't think people understand that part a lot. Like when we talk about
labels do.
Exactly. Labels do, but like not like media or hip hop fans who are like, oh, white people don't have an advantage, this, that, and the third, because this is a black art form. But the people spending the money on that shit, white people.
Yep.
Like, for the most part, there's a lot more white people, and like hip hop is now the dominant music art form in America, in the world, maybe, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, seeing as that is important, like being a white artist, white people already connect with you more. So they're already like a built-in fan base when you get a record popping. So like, labels will see that, and so like you as a white artist have to address the fact that you have a privilege and you have a responsibility to hold your fans accountable. Because there's a lot of racist hip hop fans.
Absolutely.
A lot.
Yeah.
And like it's wild, but not really.
It's
like,
not. It's the. I mean, part of the racist, part of the consciousness of a racist is to be able to compartmentalize things.
Oh yeah.
To a sickening degree, almost.
And I think
it's almost like.
I think when you think about
sadistic, like, how they're able to compartmentalize things and to be able to love you when you're dunking the ball or
whenever a DJ plays Mad City and they stop the record, they know what they're doing at stadiums.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know why, but it's such a weird thing. And like, I feel like as a white artist, like you have a responsibility. You can't just be not racist. You have to be explicitly anti-racist. And of course, a label's not going to look to that. But now we're in a world where labels don't matter. No Name is a successful artist without a label.
No label. Yeah, I fuck with No Name.
Macklemore was an artist who was very popular without a label. Chance doesn't have a label. Like 21 waited a long time before he signed.
Yep.
Like he waited for leverage. Same with SZA. Like you're able to do these things without labels now, or at least putting them in the position where they need you.
Yeah. Taking it to the bigger picture other than hip hop, I've always been the type of person that I don't fully trust you as a white person unless you not only acknowledge your whiteness, but unless you refute your whiteness, right?
Yeah.
Like my closest European American homies will tell you I'm not white, right? And they kind of taught me in that way, like they embrace their Irish roots, and not the Irish roots that's the mainstream low hanging fruit. Like no, like the revolutionist Irish roots, the Irish roots that are the oppressed Irish roots. Like they embrace that, right? And so I've always kind of took that and was like, okay, I don't really. If you consider yourself white, you're already saying that you're my enemy without saying anything.
Here's like where I fall on that, and it's kind of an evolving thing. This view is subject to change, but I feel like as white people, we have purposely erased our cultures to have power. So instead of trying to then erase the fact that we had done that and say, well, actually, this is my background, I think it's important to acknowledge that, like, we are white. We came with this innate privilege and this innate power and supremacy, and we have to deconstruct what whiteness is. Because for me personally, like, I don't have family that celebrate specific, like, traditions from, like, the various cultures that make up my DNA.
Right.
So, like, I don't have a connection to that. But I do have a connection to what this American whiteness is and how to speak to that and deconstruct it. So I will acknowledge the fact that I'm white and refute it, but I won't refute the label of being white. Because I feel like it's important to acknowledge that regardless of how I feel about whiteness and how much I disagree with it, that's what's going to be seen. And so to act like, well, I'm not white, I'm Greek and German and this, that, and the third, 16% of this, that.
Right.
I feel like that's a way of deflecting personal responsibility. I would rather keep that in mind and be aware of the fact that, like, I'm dealing with my whiteness. I'm reckoning with that and working against it.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's very easy. I feel like it's a very simple thing for white people to do. To just be like, well, if I just revoke the idea of being white, then that's not really my problem. But actually, let's really get into it. Let's dig deep into what whiteness means.
Okay, that's real. How do you do that work via music or via your writing? How does that?
Yeah. So
how does that ideology leak into or manifest itself out in your music?
Yeah. I try to like speak to my experiences in music. Mm-hmm. So like when you listen to a song like State of Emergency, it's about specifically Philando Castile, but like when we get into lyrics like Lord knows my skin, this wouldn't happen to me, like, and like praying for my brothers because of their skin color, like it's very important for me to do that. Like, and when I perform that record, especially when I'm performing in front of a white audience, like I take the time to intro the record. I don't just jump right into it. And like I use that as a way of holding people accountable. There was one show that I did where the room was just full of white people outside of like my friends. And it was great because I got to hold them to account for this record. I was talking about like, this is around the time where like the Starbucks thing happened, where like the thing where like the woman called the police on that woman sleeping in Yale, all that kind of shit.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
And like I was like, this is all connected to just this specific moment.
Yeah.
And it's not enough for white people in the room to just ignore it. You have to push back against it. And like, you know, I got responses from younger white women in the room, like snapping their fingers and everything. And then I got like glares from like older white men. I was like, cool. That's what I need right now.
Yeah.
Drop right into the record. And like, I close every set I do with that record. Because regardless of how much fun the music is, I want it to end with a real moment. And to really speak to something. I want you to leave that room like moved in a sense. Like, so granted, maybe like that record isn't enough to like cause you to act, but it's going to cause you to think. And that hopefully will cause you to act. So that's where I'm at with it musically. And I want to keep speaking to that. Because as a white person in a black art form, it only makes sense for me to speak to black issues and speak against like white supremacy.
Okay. Does your, you know, as black people, we always bear this responsibility to like we bear this responsibility to transform the world, right? And I mean, it's a real responsibility. Pablo Freire spoke about it well in not Theater of the Oppressed, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and the role of the oppressed to liberate not only the oppressed but the oppressors. But also at the same time, we do bear this responsibility, and we tend to think that it's on us, and we ignore the fact that we have to have white allies to be able to speak truth to power in a way that we can't. So not only in your music, but how do you speak truth to power in your personal life? We all black people always have this saying that we like, yo, at Thanksgiving you need to be be speaking to your racist uncle or your racist niece or nephew about this shit. You need to be telling them. Is that a real thing that happens at dinner tables, or how does that work?
I'm not super close to my family, but like for my siblings and everything, like we're pretty much on the same page, and we'll push back when our older family members are on that bullshit. But for me, like as a white person, you know, like just being in day-to-day conversations, it's always just about like the call out is always just about the moment. I remember this was an Asian friend of mine who went on Facebook and like his younger brother or something got jumped. The people who happened to do it were black, but he started going on this like whole like tirade using the N-word. I hit him up privately like, yo, like I know you have black friends, like what are you doing? Like, and like I kind of talked him down. He deleted the post. Like it's moments like that, because like we do live in like a cancel culture. So like I wouldn't blame anyone for saying I'm not gonna fuck with dude anymore. But like we need to get him on that page so that like people can continue to grow and expand. Because like I think about me is like the idea of fairness. I think a lot of white people get hung up on like what fairness is, because they don't understand historical. They just understand in the moment because they're not thinking that broadly. So like you have to put it in people's minds that like historically, and on top of that, like what's happening right now behind the scenes is more than just what you're seeing with your eyes. You have to be a part of that. So like for me, anytime I'm in a conversation with people, I push back. And being part of like a marginalized identity too, like being queer, like it's not something I can equate with blackness. Yeah. But I can equate with like pushing back, like working with youth, like, you know, they'll grow up and they'll have like homophobic like parents or like whatever, and they'll have those moments where they'll say this, that, and the third in a classroom setting. It's like, yo, hold up, what's that about? Like, let's talk about that. Do you know what that means? Like, because it's always part of it's like confronting maliciousness. The other part is confronting ignorance.
Okay. How does your queerness reflect in your music? Does it at all? Do you feel the need to touch on those topics?
I do. I had a record with Neon Black earlier this year, where I have a lyric where.
Salute to Neon Black.
Yeah, shout out to them. Yeah. I'm not just indifferent. I'm the queerest to spit it, and like that record, like that was like kind of like my first moment in hip hop, like claiming my queerness. And what was interesting about that is like that record rang off for a lot of people around me, and a lot of straight men. And so like when I was at the listening party for Vignettes, like a week or two ago, and like we put on that record just to play it, and like people are singing along, and they're singing along that part. Like that part mattered to me to be sung along to by like straight men. Yeah. Because like to me it's like it's breaking down a barrier. And then when we go to lo-fi, these rappers say they don't vibe with queers, then show up in the style we wear. Like that part was Offset. He said last year, at the end of last year, he had a record with YFN and Lucci, where I do not vibe with queers. Cool. You dress gay as hell though. You wear the gayest fashion. Like, stop it.
Blouses.
Like that's what's always funny.
The Joe Button. The blouses.
Right. That's what's always funny to me is like, you know, those homophobic moments from people who wear gay fashion. Like when Eddie Murphy is doing like Delirious and Raw, it's like, my guy. My guy.
That's part of my. That's something that I noticed about hip hop, is that a lot of times it is homophobic. It is not even homophobic. I don't want to use that word because it's not a fear, but it's a something else.
Yeah. But I feel like every genre is that, so it's just important to push back.
Right. But at the same time, a lot of hip hop is into this designer era, right? Like it's all about the clothes. It's all about. It's always been about fashion. But at some point, it switched from kind of urban, Damon like, John and Fubu, to now we're rocking Ferragamo and Armani and Gucci, who are all gay designers. Yeah, like these are all gay white European men.
Absolutely.
Who are you guys are dressing in their clothes.
Versace is like the Migos breakout single.
Fam. It's the irony. Gays, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, so I've never understood that about hip hop. It's like, yo, y'all know everybody y'all shouting out in these songs and all these clothes that y'all wearing are from gay European designers. Like, do y'all understand? Do you think they understand that? Has anybody been like, yo, I mean,
it'd be a little condescending to be like, you don't understand. It'd be condescending to say like, you don't understand.
Baby, this is Chase. Smoking on Mimi.
Nice to meet you. Shout out to the listeners. Yeah. Y'all get some exclusive behind the scenes.
I like to be 100, man. We don't do this whole editing, production shit. It's all grimy.
But no, like I feel like it'd be condescending to act like they don't know, especially in a time period where like we spoke to that by this point. Like Kanye really popularized all that. Kanye and Cam. Like, and they caught flack for that back then. Like, so for us to act like rappers don't know nowadays, I don't know. I feel like that's doing a disservice to them. I feel like it just, whatever works for them. Like, Offset's from the South, like, even in Atlanta, like, Atlanta's a gay ass city
for sure.
But that doesn't mean like there aren't like subcultures there that are very like conservative Christian. Like you see that up here, but like we're talking about the South too. Like, so like I don't necessarily like want to act like he was not aware of that, but I also don't want to like give him a pass either. Like, oh, you grew up like this, so of course. Like, no, I would rather just challenge the notion. And like when I'm able to put those kind of affirming lines in my own music and see people react positively to it, it does give me a sense of like, okay, cool. So I can keep pushing in this direction because now people rock with this.
Yeah.
And like part of that is because of the sonics and like how I set up the content to come across, because like that's what I do with my music a lot. Is I want, it's kind of like mixing in the medicine, you know. Like I want you to enjoy this record because it's a banger, but also I want to say something.
Yep.
Like on Carefree, it's all about like self-love, and then I slip in some stuff like where I go, no cap, no cap, no cap, no cap, no capitalism, abolish these prisons, break out of the system, owe that to the children at least. Like, just being able to like switch that, because like doing no cap repeatedly like that is catchy, and then I go into no capitalism. Like, it's something to catch you like while you're listening to it. Yeah. And, like that's kind of like the whole intent of my music is like I want to give you something you can enjoy and listen to, and sneak in. But what also, is there's gonna be,
that's a fact. Yeah. That's I think we're similar in that way, where I try to do the same thing. Not even like I'm intentionally trying. That's just how it kind of happens. I've always been able to blend in, like having catchy records and having songs that people can fuck with and songs that I know is gonna work performing. But at the same time, like I'm sneaking in some messages of, you know what I'm saying? Like I got a song called Block Me, which is all about like, the hook is like, if you don't like it, ho, block me. So it's all about like, if you're mad at something I said or who I am or whatever, like fuck you, you could block me. But at the end, it's like I put in like a bar about like not signing to a label or whatever. Like I'm sorry, I forgot what the specific bar is, but I always slip something in there where it's like yeah, the medicine is in there, but you're gonna get the candy first, but then you're gonna get some medicine too at the same time. So and I think, and especially on the Vignettes project that you dropped, that was very evident from the jump that was what you were doing. And so that's really what we appreciated. So this is the comment section podcast, the session. I told y'all we was in for a good one, man. This brother is very, very dope. It's always a conversation. I didn't want it to be an interview per se, but I wanted it to be more of a conversation. I know you have a dope perspective, and a very real stance that you stand on. And so we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna smoke this black. We're gonna do some chilling out for a minute. I think Tom might have a blunt that he sparked. I don't know if he smoked weed, but we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back and dig all the way into this Vignettes album. Once again, it's the podcast comment section. It's the session. Chase Vibe is in the building. Koo Keem, we here.
You dig.
We'll be right back.
Vibe. Yeah. I walk around the city like I don't care. They don't know the name yet. They stop and stare. I heard you sending shots now. I don't care. Look, fam, I don't care. Look, fam, I don't care. Cause I feel amazing. Something legendary. They too complacent. And that's very scary. Look, mama made it. Look, fam, I don't care. Look, fam, I don't care. Days I struggle to look in the mirror, see someone of value there. Now my vision has never been clear. Feel like I've raised a tear. Shed many of those all on the road to my redemption. Yeah. I know I collapse and then I relapse back to depression. Then I resuscitate, once again elevate. Then it's back to the mission. Showing the love, literally killing hate. I got grander ambitions. Illusions of grandeur, they are not. Word to the pastor, hell is hot. Might have been burning alive, but I couldn't vibe. Now I stand tall as God. We got the soul that I needed to know. Continue to grow. Winter be lasting forever out here. Honestly, sick of the snow. Somehow, despite if I'm walking the city, and now I am in my glow. Tapping into my soul. Something that for you know. Walk around the city, they don't notice I'm too low-key. Feasting on these beats, slaying stages with my homies. Imagine if I gave it up and listened when they told me. Free of all the disrespect, there's no one to control me. I walk around the city like I don't care. They don't know the name yet. They stop and stare. I heard you sending shots now. I don't care. Look, fam, I don't care. Look, fam, I don't care, cause I feel amazing. Something legendary, they too complacent. That's very scary. Look, mama made it.
Alright, yo, we back. Comment section podcast, the session. Once again, we're joined by rapper, friend extraordinaire, Chase Vibes in the building with us.
What up?
What we just heard was a song from his album Vignettes. This song was titled Carefree.
Yes, sir.
Produced by Angelo Bombay.
Yes, sir.
Salute to Angelo. I fuck with you, bro. So what went into that song? I got a couple questions just in general about that song and then about the album period, but talk a little bit about that song. What were you thinking going into that?
That was a beat I was very fortunate to find in my collection, and it was definitely the one that I really wanted to like center in on and like deliver, cause like it's a hard beat, two, it's Angelo Bombay, so like there's gonna be eyes on it. So like hearing that record, I took my time to like come up with the hook first. That was like the most important thing for me, and then I actually do a lot of rewrites. Like if I'm not feeling something halfway through, I'll get rid of the whole verse. Like,
whole verse, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Just like I need a fresh start. So like that first verse is probably like maybe the third or fourth try I had at it.
Okay.
Like, I didn't get into my bag until like the second verse. Like that was written all in one.
What happened? What sparked that came?
You know, it's all about like trying to figure out the flow and the direction of like what I wanted to do with it. Cause I think people underrate trap beats a lot when it comes to like having to have precise flows. Like that's why I feel like a lot of people rap slow on them because it's easier to keep up with.
Okay.
But like when you have more room, like on a boom bap beat, you can like fumble your words more. You can try and stuff more syllables in. With something as precise and as like bombastic as something that is styled more like a trap beat, you have to be on point so you don't get lost in the shuffle of it.
Okay.
So like I had to find out like where I was at with that to like really come into it. And then the bridge hit, I was like, okay, I wrote 16. I still got some more to write. I was like, let me take it into a different direction. Let me go more melodic with it to see if I can catch something. And I feel like I landed on that with that.
Did you so did going melodic, and that was one of my questions I was going to lead into. Did going melodic, did it just happen? Was it just happenstance? It just kind of worked out that way as you were writing it, and then you put the auto-tune and realized that it had a melody to it? Or was it something that you intentionally went in to not only this song but the whole album? Why did you go auto-tune with this?
So yeah, like actually auto-tune became like a week-long obsession with me in the studio for a minute, but I have written all the songs without it in mind. Okay. So like when I recorded Carefree, I was like, I was gonna be melodic in the first place, but I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not a singer by any means.
Really?
So yeah, so it doesn't sound good. But like adding that extra like layer of like, because like auto-tune can be used for pitch correction and all that to make it sound like you can sing. How most people use it now, like in rap, is to add that kind of vocal texture of having like that kind of like sound. So that's the way I intended to go about it, was to like give myself an extra texture. And like with the bridge, like it just sounded a lot better with the auto-tune because like it already kind of had like a nice bounce to it, but adding that into it kind of like calls back to like, I mean, I grew up like with T-Pain like at the forefront, and Wayne like and Kanye following his lead. So like that auto-tune stuff is nothing new to like my age group, and just using it in the right way was something that was dope to me.
Yeah, I think you definitely executed on that one. That was one of the elements that I appreciated about the album, was the fact that you not even experimented, the fact that you incorporated melodies and auto-tune into it. It just added a layer of a different thing that I wasn't expecting going into hearing the album, and it was just like a pleasant surprise. Like, okay, all right.
I want to like work towards having a consistent sound for myself, but I also like really like the idea of having a cohesive project. So like when I'm working on something like Vignettes, where like it is supposed to feel like more trap influenced, I want to kind of have like each record flow into each other as opposed to having something that sticks out. That's why a record like Spike, as good as I think that record is, wouldn't end up on a project like Vignettes.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about Vignettes. So what went into the name? How did you name it? Was there a concept that you had in mind going into writing it? I know we talked earlier about you just putting it together and wanting to put something out.
Yeah.
But the execution of it didn't seem like it was that random. It seemed like there was some intention that went along with it. And me knowing you as a person and as an artist, I know there had to be some intentionality with it. So speak on that. How did this project come about?
Yeah. So I've recorded a lot in like the past year, but I haven't released everything, and I don't intend to. Mm-hmm. But I had enough like that felt like in a similar vein that like, okay, I could tell a story, because like I always want to approach my projects not just conceptually, because like I like to have a theme in mind, like an idea of what I'm gonna do, but also sonically. Like I want to drop something and it feels out of place.
Right.
Like I don't want you to like be listening to a project like Vignettes and then get drawn out by something that's more like traditional hip hop sounding, like in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. So like I had these records, I felt like they told a well put together story in having their own subject matter in each song.
Okay.
So they all sound different, but they all kind of work off of a similar energy. Mm-hmm. They all say different things. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, it felt like Vignettes being like individual scenes, like that tell a story.
Okay.
That's kind of how I felt with each song here.
Yeah.
Like you could put them in like an anthology or what, however that word is said, but you could put them all next to each other and they don't seem out of place, but they all are telling something different.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of went about with that one.
Okay. So let's get into the specifics of them real quick. So a lot of topics or things that came up in the album was, of course, depression, mental health.
Yeah.
Was something that was a theme throughout the album. You even touched on religion a little bit. We've already kind of talked about your bisexuality and gender. You talk about love. You talk about social media issues. You also bring up your whiteness, which we've touched on a little bit already. So how do these?
That's 5 songs, by the way, and they all bang. Just
right. Yeah, it's a very
a lot to get out of this.
Very dope. Let's talk about really depression and mental health.
Yeah, like I deal with that a lot. I used to take Lexapro for it.
What is that?
It's a antidepressant.
Okay.
And I would take that like once a day, and it was cool or whatever. Like you have like side effects from antidepressants, so like I would have very vivid, weird dreams.
Like what?
I don't know, because like I was on it for like a year.
Okay.
So like there's just a lot, but like you would remember them. They would stick out. Like you know how like every night you go to sleep, you might not have a dream that's memorable, or you might not even dream. Mm-hmm. You have them all the time, like antidepressants.
Word. Okay.
And then also like I wouldn't have like the super low moments that I would have with depression, but I also wouldn't have those super high moments when I like succeed something or having like a euphoric day. Like everything kind of felt numb. So like laughing was like kind of something that would happen occasionally. Like you just kind of feel like normal, like regular, like you don't really feel anything. Also, it just like totally kills your sex drive.
Word.
Yeah, it's wild. But
damn. Okay.
But I eventually ended up like, cause like I had an issue with insurance, and so like I came off of it, not in the way you're supposed to, which is you're supposed to like work yourself off of it. But my insurance didn't go through at the start of the year in 2017, and I couldn't afford the individual pill bottle. So I went through withdrawals, which is crazy. Like, ended up in a situation like that, playing with my mental health in that level. Like, I ended up in the hospital for like a 3-day stint. And then like when I get out, like I don't have the medication anymore. So like it's really trying to figure out like how to work through this situation without that, knowing that that's not something that I can depend on to always be there.
Okay.
So like I went through a lot of just like finding myself and finding ways to like work through those darker moments and like learn to love myself, because like that's another thing that plays into it. Like when you are growing up, like, and you might not have that kind of like understanding of self, that also contributes to like a chemical imbalance.
Okay.
So I definitely deal with it still, but like I'm at a different place now where like I'm in control.
Yeah. Was there a moment where, so kind of backing up to pre you being on antidepressants, was there a moment where you knew, okay, I need to be on antidepressants? What was that? If you can define it as a moment or an experience or an event, what was that? And then fast forwarding to when you were after you couldn't afford the medicine.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you realized, oh, I don't need this and I can be okay without them?
Yeah. So like dealing with mental health since I was like 13 is when it really started to be a noticeable impact. Mm-hmm. After like 4 years, get to 17, like I haven't had anything. Like I begged like my family to get me into therapy. Mm-hmm. And I went through therapy for a while. Like, you know, I had different therapists and everything like that, trying to figure out what clicks. But like I could never be as consistent about it because like I was always doing something. Mm-hmm. Like always involved in something that would keep me from like making that a priority. Mm-hmm. So like eventually I was like, if I could just take a pill and I'd be good for the rest of the day, then I don't have to worry about like, you know, dealing with someone healthily like getting me through issues.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of where that decision came from. Like I can't keep up with therapy, but like my mental health needs adjusting. So like I went through and got that. And then after like just not being able to afford it, like it wasn't so much that like I needed to find out like a new, like I didn't need it. It was more so like, how can I get through this without it? And like kind of learning how to like put myself in a better situation with support systems and knowing myself and like how to talk myself out of whatever my mind is telling me. Because when you deal with like depression, like it's not like a separate voice. It's just your voice changes inside your head. Like, it's telling you different things. It's making you believe different things about you. Like, oh, your accomplishments don't stack up. This, that, and the third. Look at everyone else. All that kind of stuff. But it sounds like you. It sounds like your rational thoughts. So you have to like kind of learn to recognize that and like figure out how to address it. Okay. So like learning to love myself and like very openly talking about my mental health has been something that's been beneficial.
What is that self-love process? What has that been for you? What have you done? I know music has been an outlet, but what else have you done intentionally to help to find yourself and to actualize who you are and to not only just know that, but to value who you are?
Yeah, it comes with a lot of reflection, like, because you have to understand yourself as an individual. So like you can't look at anybody else and be like, why am I not here? Like, well, let's talk about me first. Like, let's see like where I'm at. And so like you just have to have a lot of like conversations with yourself, I guess, like really figure out where you are and to appreciate yourself. Okay. So like it's just a long process of learning to like appreciate yourself and hold yourself accountable. It's not like doing the other like side of it and like not caring at all like about what your impact is. Yeah. It's about like, no, I have areas I can improve on, but like that's not to say I don't have all of this in front of me.
Right. Okay. And then what was there a single song what song was that on the album that really had that theme of mental health in there?
Carefree, and then I feel like Social Media Blue plays into that a bit too.
Glad you brought that up. So Social Media Blue, let's talk about that. So what was the science behind how that song came together, and then on the theme of mental health, how does social media play a part or add to mental illness, depression, a need for attention? And then was that a personal song for you to write, or was that from a third? Did you write that from a third person?
It's actually just really interesting. That song came out of like abstraction.
Okay, explain that.
So like, you could just go the straight up route and look at like, oh, social media affects mental health, and just be very plain with it. But I thought about like, why are all these things blue? I started looking into like the science behind that. Like, it's marketing research. Blue's an inviting color. So like, all right, cool. So social media blue, like blue also like you're sad, and then like using blue is like an inviting way, but blue being like sad and like social media inviting you, but also leaving you with that kind of like sadness because like you don't stack up to other people. Like that's been like a noted like thing. And then you start thinking about like blue light therapy. Like they use that as like you shine this light like during like winter months or whatever to get that kind of like energy back. And blue lights are behind like our phones and our TVs. It's like a way of like energizing us. That's why you're not supposed to like look at screens after a certain hour because it'll energize you. Okay. So like I wanted to wrap all those themes into one. I didn't know how I was gonna write it until like I sat down and wrote it. And it wasn't even to that beat initially. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this record. Really? Like, so I had the concept in my head for like months, but like, and I had that beat for longer, but like it just came at a moment where like I heard it, I was like, that's it. Yeah. And it's interesting, I didn't even think about it until like after the fact when I was listening to Destiny Roberts' project, Moon Melon and Mommy.
Salute to Destiny Roberts.
Yep. She has a joint on there called Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. She does with Dua Salah. And I realized that the cadence that I use for the hook on Social Media Blue is directly from that song. Nice. So I was like, okay, well, I can't drop this now without like showing it to both of them and being like, yo, is this cool? Like, this actually subconsciously inspired me. So like having that like real life conversation of that record, and like it was important. Like I got the stamp of approval from both of them, and then Destiny and I actually worked on the Carefree video. So like, nice, you know, things come around.
It's the universe. So what are your triggers on social media? How does it trigger your depression, or does it trigger the things that you have gone through mentally? Or
social media doesn't personally bother me that much, because like I feel like I've gotten to a point where like I can recognize like you can always tell when someone's putting on like a profile about themselves, like they're putting on a character, and we all do it. Like I do it too. Like I want to seem like I'm way more in control than I actually am. Like, when I put out music stuff, I want people to like really fuck with it. So like it's all really a front. So like I keep that in mind. It doesn't really bother me. But like I could see how like if you're more insecure with yourself, or like impressionable, or like you see how, oh, this person has this many likes. Numbers don't really mean anything in real life. Not at all. But like I could see how that could play an effect on someone. Yeah.
So Kendrick has this quote. It was a song on Section 80 where he's like, he's not even in. It's not even a part of the verse, but he's like, I'm not. Is it high power? He's like, I'm not on the outside looking in. I'm not on the inside looking out. I'm in the dead fucking center looking all around. Yeah. And I feel like that is my persona when it revolves around social media. Like I'm just observant of everything. Like I'm not. And sometimes I'm a part of it. Sometimes I feel like I'm disconnected, and sometimes I feel like, but for the most part, I feel like I'm an observer, and it's the fucking Matrix. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the definition of like, this is the Matrix. Like, this state isn't real. Like, my brain, and there are neurons and shit are shooting, and electrons are shooting across my mind telling me that this steak is juicy and it's good and it's flavorful, but it's not real.
Yeah, no, it's not. Especially when you consider the fact that like you're not getting a real person. You're getting what they choose to show you. So like someone could put up a great front and their whole situation could be fucked up. Like that's just how it goes. So like you can't take anything on social media when in regards to like people's individual successes or their personalities or anything like that as fact. Like you can't like look at it like that. You have to just understand that, like, okay, so maybe they're doing this, that, and the third, but I don't know what led to this. That's another thing, like with artists too, is like I can see how it's easy to get jealous or whatever. Like, how come this person has this many numbers and I don't? And I take the same amount of care in my art. there's other things happening behind the scenes. They're not going to tell you.
Right.
You just have to figure it out. You just have to like realize.
So you saying niggas paying for these views, bro? That's what you're saying? These Spotify numbers is inflated.
People are definitely paying for views, but I feel like there's also people who like,
y'all see everybody posting these Spotify numbers this week and shit?
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
What the fuck is that about? You seen that shit?
I wonder where they get those numbers from.
I don't know. I think it's somebody said it's TuneCore. TuneCore compiles the numbers and all.
No, I know that, but like, just like this country is listening to you, and like you have this many fans. Like, okay, like I don't know what that all means in the grand scheme of things. Because like if I'm still able to see you in the same spots that I'm at, like
it doesn't mean a fucking thing.
Exactly. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Like, I've never been someone who really obsessed over numbers. Like you'll never catch me paying for views because like everything about my music is about impact.
Right.
Like I could have 10,000 views if only 9,000 of them are real. What's the point? Like that's not an impact. So if I just give you my 1,000 views, which I don't have, but like if I were to have just 1,000 views, at least it connected with someone real. At least someone got an impact from it. Like when that goes back to like Lo-Fi and Spike having like queer affirming things. That goes back to State of Emergency having an effect on people. Like when I close out shows, like as long as I have an impact with my words, like that's enough for me. Cause like I don't care about like fame or the numbers or popularity. Like let me just impact and be able to like eventually live off this shit.
Yeah, that's facts. We're going to give them a little bit of social media blue just to wrap up.
Let's get
what we talking about. Not too much, though. I want them to go listen to the album.
Social media blue, all these different hits, might leave you confused, might leave you confused. Social media blue, all these different hits, might leave you confused, might leave you confused. And you can take that system, I don't want it. I'm trying to disconnect from it all, I don't want it. And you can take that system, I don't want it. I'm trying to disconnect from it all, I don't want it. Take a minute, take a trip, take a moment, let it sink in. You see Twitter, you see Tumblr, Facebook, LinkedIn, all marked by a shade of blue, all aimed at persuading you. Market research, see what's cool, find something entertaining you.
I think I'll listen to the rest of that. They got going your SoundCloud, give you the numbers, bro.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Man, that's a real thing. Sometimes I get triggered from social media, and because it's like, cause some people just irritate me to the core.
Oh yeah, no, I feel that.
It's like just the troll era, and I think people has masked this narcissistic, kind of really closed in perspective of opinions and quote unquote free thought.
Yeah.
By just saying the most ignorantest shit just to get a reaction. And then it's that shit just triggers me so much.
No, I feel that.
So
I feel like a lot of people on social media who do shit like that have never been punched in the face. And I feel like everyone should get punched in the face at least once in their life.
Talk that shit, Chase.
I feel like everyone should get punched in the face once in their life so they know that you can be touched.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's not as bad as it sounds. But, like, because, you know, some people freak out at the idea of being punched.
Right.
Like, no, sometimes you just deserve that shit.
Sometimes you need a hit.
You just got to take the L.
Yeah.
Give yourself some perspective.
Yeah. So my whole thing was, like, when we talked about this last podcast was, somebody wrote a status, rap music destroyed the black community.
Oh, I saw that status.
Yeah, that shit was fucking crazy.
I saw that status. I'm very intrigued by people who think like that.
Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not even gonna get into it because we got into it on the last podcast. Yeah. So I'm not gonna get on my on my soapbox this time. But
I'm always intrigued by people who say that stuff. Just considering like the reality of it.
Right.
But facts don't matter.
Right. Not on social media. No. All right. I wanted to get into. We still got some time. I wanted to get into state of emergency. More specifically, what does grassroots organization look like for you? How do you use your music platform? And I know we touched on this earlier, but how do you use your music platform or your art to organize, to teach, to move the conversation forward with different audiences?
Yeah. So I'm not an organizer by any means. Mm-hmm. It looks very stressful. I'm very appreciative of those around me that are organizers and those that I've seen do the work. So I think for grassroots organizing, like, there needs to be support systems for people who do that. Like, these systems are made to intentionally wear us out. Mm-hmm. And you can't just have one person at the front of it, and you can't have these expectations of people to do this. There needs to be, like, support and shifts and rotation and leader-full communities. Because, like, this shit is exhausting, and it will burn you out. And you can get deeply invested in this because you want to see the returns, and it gets exhausting to, like, see the losses.
Yeah.
So, like, self-care is very important, and the work is necessary. Absolutely necessary. Life and death necessary.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people really grasp that because, like, for the most part, day-to-day lives don't change. There's a status quo that we're all really accustomed to. But, like, there are people without health care because of, like, the way premiums got jacked up on, like, Obamacare and everything. That's a real life thing. People organize around that. People die every day. Black people die every day due to the police. And, like, I think a lot of people try and use that, the false equivalency of, like, people killing other people versus people getting killed by the police. Because, like, there's accountability for people. There's not accountability for police.
Right.
So, like, that's something that always needs to be challenged and always needs, and in this day and age, recorded and whatnot. And, like, I think on the other side, when it comes recording, it's like how much of this re-traumatizes people. Like, there are so many different things that we're going to find out psychologically, find out in government reports 20 years from now about all the different, like, protest techniques. So, like, we really got to take care of ourselves and each other and still figure out how to do the work. It's multi-layered, and, like, there's room for a lot of discussion on it.
For sure. Bet. All right, let's get into so what love was a topic a theme that I kind of felt throughout listening to the project a couple of times. And so let's open up about Chase's love life. We're gonna get real messy on this motherfucking podcast today. So
I'm happily taken. There's nothing to talk about.
But let's talk about that. So let's open up about relationships, and so I want to leave that open to however you interpret that.
Love is broad. It's a very broad concept. That's why I feel like when artists try and specifically define it, they never measure up because, like, it means so many different things to so many different people. And it can mean so many different things to one person at a time. So, like, because we have different types of love. We have love for family, love for friends, all that kind of stuff. Relationship kind of love. And all that can mean different things. So, like, I guess for me, like, I have been a whore in my past. But, like, I'm also a very committed person when it comes to a relationship. Like, I'm very monogamous is where I go. I don't judge other people for what they do. They can rock. Like, that has nothing to do with me. But for a relationship with me to, like, really work after going through, like, you know, being young and trying to figure out what that looks like, it's really just communication and understanding. You have to be able to healthily communicate and all that, and, like, just know when to trust and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like relationships are a lot easier than people make them out to be. Like, you just have to come down to, like, the understanding of, like, where you are with someone.
And so you met your lady, if I'm not mistaken, where?
I met her in Knoxville, Tennessee for Freedom School.
What the? Give a round of applause for that shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You
that's
know,
what the fuck is up.
When you have similar callings, you just run into the right people.
Hey, salute to CDF Freedom School, Knoxville, Tennessee. My 20s there was definitely the highlight of my 20s was being able to go down to Knoxville and participate in that Freedom School training for 5 years in a row. I think I went.
That's dope.
One of the most amazing experiences that you will ever have. Looking at this nigga sneak behind me because this nigga never went. He grew up in Freedom School. It's not too late, my brother. It is not too late. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I wanted to be. I'm glad you brought it up because I want to say it, but yeah, man, that's what's up.
No, yeah,
that's really dope. Yeah, that's where I was going with that one.
I feel like also
Salute
like
to the seat.
If you want to figure out where you are with someone, travel. Mm-hmm. You can't like expect to find like the thing you need right around the corner.
Yeah,
it's not realistic.
Mm-hmm. Word up! I saw me and my girl traveling.
Small world.
I was in Illinois. She's from St. Louis.
My girl's from Seattle.
Hey,
yeah,
that's
I was out there this summer. For cool. She's coming out here in like a week.
That's what's up. Long distance relationships. Let's speak about that. How has that? What has that taught you? How has that made you a better lover, a better partner? What are what have been the things that you've learned about yourself and about your relationship by being in a long distance relationship?
I think patience. Patience really like factors into it because you just have to like grit your teeth on like waiting. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, it's not like I can just pull up, but like it also feels like it allows me to like figure things out on my own. Like that was one of the things that was very beneficial because like we met in Tennessee, but that wasn't the intention. Like we were just friends and we were just talking and everything. Mm-hmm. And I talked to her throughout the whole summer. Like, so I really had to get to know her, and like we both kind of figured out like our mutual attraction for one another. Mm-hmm. And so like being able to do that without like the complications of like the physical or like, you know, being around like other people, like just being able to figure out ourselves first actually was beneficial. And so like then moving into the space where like we were around each other for long periods of time, like we weren't dating then either. Like we spent like 2 weeks together. And, like, we kind of figured at the end of it, like, all right, let's commit to this. Yeah. Like, because we figured that's what we wanted. Like, it wasn't, like, either one of us rushing into it. And I feel like it would be very easy for us to, either one of us to just been like, nah, this ain't going to work. Long distance, whatever. And that would have been it. And that's fine. Like, but, like, when you're in close proximity, like, in the same city, like, you make excuses. Like, oh, this could work. Like, you're not all, you could be, like, half in, half out subconsciously. Like, for this, it's just like, I don't have to do any of this. Like, I can just go. Like, right. But I want to. Like,
that's facts. All right. So, like we said, man, Chase Vibes album, Vignettes, available right now. Where can they get it? I know I was listening to it on SoundCloud. Is it on streaming services right now?
You can go to any streaming service. It'll be there.
All major streaming services. Search Chase Vibe, spelled just how it sounds.
Yes, sir.
This has been a pleasure for me to be able to chop this up and to build and to do this dialogue. Yeah. I appreciate you giving your time and sharing space with me over here. Any final words that you have to say to the audience? What would you like to leave out? What is your final message?
Man, I'm not ready for this. I don't have like anything that wouldn't sound corny, but like, but you know, get out there, live life.
Yeah,
all right, a whole lot of it, and stream Vignettes.
Stream that shit
like 3 or 4 times, because like, you know, 10 streams on a project is considered an album sale. Those are 5 songs. Stream it twice, give me an album sale.
You heard it right here, man. Comment Section Podcast, The Session. We're gonna end off on Chase Vibe. This song is called Broken Hearts. Is that cool if we play this song? Or what song would you like to end out to?
That's a good one.
I think we're gonna end out to Broken Hearts. Once again, on behalf of the Comment Section Podcast, I'm Koo Keem. In the building, we got T Sneak. We have the one and only Chase Vibe. We'll stream that album, not now, but right motherfucking now. It's the Comment Section Podcast, The Sessions. We out.
Broken hearts on Dowling Ave. Just moved out to my grandma's pad. Reminiscing, just thinking back. Made dream sequence in the midst of that. I was dead broke, sleeping on a cot, marching in the streets, yelling fuck the cops, dealing with depression, taking medication, went to therapy, started meditation. I was flying low a couple years ago, now I'm shining bro. They don't hear me though, but they feel the vibe, that's the last name. So give chase to the first like the stamps came. It's a damn shame, got survivor's guilt, friends faded away, not how I was built. They had strength and a lust for life, but they're gone now, so I'll fucking write. Try to tell the stories of the lost ones and the broken dreams. Without God's love, we were misfits, the forsaken ones. Try to unite the people using Satan's tongue. Innocent and temptation was bounded up in trap studios that it grounded us. When it was all said and done, we were ground to dust and spread through the city. Some fell to rust. Jay found Jehovah, Terry fell back. We lost a couple friends, I went back selling packs. Lost my voice for a while, started back writing raps. Found my own style and the passion proved that I could take the failures from the past and change up, turn it to success. Ain't that strange love? All the pain that we felt turned into memorials in the form of these songs. Northside editorial.
Talk about what we know about Philando Castile. He graduated from St. Paul Central High School in 2001. Would have turned 33 next week. Castile most recently worked in a cafeteria at J.J. Hill Montessori School. Principal there said she promoted him to supervisor. She described him as a bright light, bright light, bright light, bright light.
This goes out to Philando Castile, Jamar Clark, Darren Blevins, and the countless others murdered at the hands of the police. This is a state of emergency. This is a state of emergency. Whoa, this is a state of emergency. This is a state of emergency. Hey, this for my brothers, my sisters, the fam. This is for justice and equity, man. This is a state of emergency. Say this with urgency. I say this with urgency. This is a state of emergency. This is